Okay, student, good evening. Let's start with today's session. So my last session was all about having the open session for the general studies. We have already started our program. And in today's session, I'm going to take the introductory class regarding the Indian polity and constitution. And what a day we have today to start our Indian polity and constitution. Today is 31st of October, and 31st of October, as you all know, we actually celebrate this particular day as the Day of Unity. And nothing unites India than the ideal or principles of the India's constitution. So it's a very welcome day for each and every one of us to start studying about the Indian polity and constitution. Now, as I've already told you in my previous session, that one of the building blocks of preparing for UPSC exam is all about Indian polity, history, economy and geography, and one of the pillar that I'm starting it right now. But before I proceed ahead with today's session, I guess my team has already informed me that this session is also being live on YouTube, and even if you have joined me or if you have not joined me, I guess certain documents I have already get it uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So before I proceed ahead, let me show you one very important point, or let me just show you one very important document. In today's session, we'll be going to discuss one academic plan. I have converted this academic plan into slide. This presentation, like my last session, is also downloadable. So immediately after the session, you can download the documents which I'm having it right now. So in today's session, I have two particular documents that I'll be going to share with you. Number one, I'll be going to have a proper discussion on to the syllabus part of Indian polity and constitution. And other than that, I'll be going to give you a lot of important inputs regarding how to proceed ahead with the preparation. I have some important books with me right now. Like I am already having book right now like PM Bakshi, how you have to go ahead with books like PM Bakshi, what all different units that you should read from DD Basu, how you should proceed ahead with a very important document known as the Bear Act. Bear Act is considered to be the sine qua non of your overall preparation. So you need to keep it in your desk table, and how you should proceed ahead with it. So in today's session, my primary discussion would be onto two important parts. Number one, I'll be going to have a discussion onto the syllabus. I'll be going to have a rough discussion, not very precise discussion, but it should be an overview about the kind of question that we are witnessing in Indian polity and constitution, both in prelims and mains. So today's session is going to be the introductory class, and this introductory class will make sure that we are going to do the absolute dichotomy of Indian polity and constitution. What all different topics need to be studied by us, what all topic we should neglect, what all topic really holds the key for our overall success. This area requires at least 3-4 months of dedicated preparation, not in one stretch, but in parts. But once you are comfortable with this area, at least 15-16 questions in your UPSC prelims exam and at least 7-8 questions in your mains exams are going to be very well within your reach. So let me proceed ahead, and I'll again repeat, those who have already joined with me, I'm sure in afternoon my team has already sent you these two important documents, those soft copy of the PDF file. I'm sure you must be having it right now. Even if you are not having it right now, please make sure after the completion of today's session, you'll be going to take a printout, or you'll be going to store it in your mobile or desktop or whatever stuff that you are holding it right now, and keep on revising or keep on looking into the syllabus from these two important documents. Nevertheless, I have made a proper presentation out of it, so you can download the presentation as well, which includes syllabus and thorough important points of those PDF file as well. So today's session. So today's session is the class number 0. I always class my introductory classes class number 0. Yesterday's session was more like an open session where I have not shared with you a lot of important nitty-gritties of the topics. But in today's session, I'll be going to look into the micro aspect of preparing for the Indian polity and constitution. So today's session is primarily divided into 3 parts. Number 1, I'll be going to have a discussion on, just wait a minute. I'll be going to have a discussion on complete preparation overhauling aspect of the Indian polity and constitution, and I'll be going to have syllabus discussion. Look, we have to do the process, and process is very important than the final result. We all know Indian polity holds a very important key for our preparation, and Indian polity does not mean reading chapter by chapter of M. Lakshmikant. we have to look into the larger aspect of our preparation. So in today's session, I'll be going to do the micro analysis of various units, various subjects related to Indian polity. So we'll be going to have the syllabus discussion, and I'll be going to give you a lot of input related to academic resources, how you have to read the different books, bear act, and you need to keep pace with your overall preparation. And of course, very important point, first of all, as I've already told you in my last session, open session, that you should understand the competition. And understand the competition means you need to have a well drafted strategy and later on well execution of those strategy. So in today's session, we'll be going to have trend in Indian polity question. I'm not going to do extraordinary analysis of Indian polity question like federalism से इतने क्वेश्चन आ गए, फंडामेंटल राइट से इतने क्वेश्चन आ गए पिछले 15 साल में, ये सब मैं नहीं बताऊंगा. मैं आपको एक ट्रेंड बताऊंगा. आई एम गोइंग टू शेयर द लार्जर ट्रेंड, एंड द लार्जर ट्रेंड इज व्हाट टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस वी आर विटनेसिंग. Are they just asking questions straightforward from the bare act, or they are slightly tricky in terms of understanding? Does it require certain logical approach? Does it require certain applied approach? All these are the things that I'll be going to share with you. So this is today's session's agenda divided into 3 parts. So let's first of all look into the syllabus part. So in the year 2013, to be very precise, as I've already told you in my last session, on 5th of March 2013, UPSC decided to go through a sea changes in its syllabus. They've decided to reduce one optional from 2 optional. They came down to 1 optional, and they've increased the number of paper for the general studies. And in the GS paper 2, they have included a very well-defined syllabus, so-called well-defined syllabus, quote unquote, so-called well-defined syllabus of the Indian polity. So Indian polity syllabus in your mains exam is broadly divided into at least 8 or 9 area. But before I proceed ahead with the details of these important inputs related to syllabus, let me write one very important statement over here. Student, and the statement is, syllabus is a misnomer. Syllabus is a misnomer. Why I'm using this particular word? Syllabus is a misnomer. What do we mean by misnomer? Misnomer means slightly misleading. Yes, student, it's a misleading one. Why I'm using the word misleading? Why I'm using the word misleading? Because these are the explicit information, but any aspirant is not going to read it in this manner that he'll be going to dedicate 10 days for Indian Constitution historical underpinnings, then 10 days for function and responsibility of the Union, then 10 days for separation of powers. You cannot do your preparation in silos over here. You cannot do preparation in the fragmentation, like these are the fragmented topics that your syllabus of Indian polity been mentioned. But the fact of the matter is syllabus is way beyond, way wider compared to these points. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So total 9 points are being given to us. In our syllabus, so-called syllabus or a misnomer syllabus, 9 points are being mentioned to us in our Indian polity section. But fact of the matter is, student, preparation requires not to look into these 9 points in silos. It should be prepared in toto. It should be prepared in totality. Therefore, I am using the word misnomer. Why I am using the word misnomer? Because whenever you are going to start your preparation for Indian polity and constitution for the UPSC or even for the state PCS exam, you need to understand topics from A to Z. And once you are comfortable with the ideals and principles of Indian constitution and functioning of various institutions, then these points will make more sense to you. अब उनको क्या है, उन्होंने तो छोटा सा पॉइंट लिख दिया, डिस्प्यूट रिड्रेसल मैकेनिज्म. Now, dispute redressal mechanism requires plethora of institutions in our country. Dispute redressal mechanism requires so many different inputs related to the executive part and to the judiciary part. We need to be quite abreast about those points. So it's easier said than done. Therefore, I'm using the word syllabus is misnomer. Syllabus देख के ये मत समझिएगा कि इसको मैं Google से सर्च कर लूंगा. I'm going to put this syllabus, this point in the chat GPT and in the Grok, in the Claude, and then I will ask prepare a complete information, complete notes related to it, and then I'm going to mug it up and then I'm going to get comfortable. No, it's not going to be in this way. you have to have a very broad spectrum of your preparation. And those broad spectrum can only be done when you are going to divide your preparation into micro topics. So, student, as far as this syllabus is concerned, let me give you a brief idea about each and every point, how we have to proceed ahead. This is all related to mains. This is all the syllabus important ingredient or important points related to the mains exam. Let us look into each and everything one by one. So, the first point of the syllabus or the first unit of the syllabus says Indian Constitution historical underpinnings. Now, what do we mean by historical underpinnings? Historical underpinnings means how Indian Constitution has been evolved. I hope you all know. ये तो आपने अपनी 10th क्लास में पढ़ लिया होगा, 9th क्लास में पढ़ लिया होगा. I hope you people have gone through your NCRTs in your 9th and 10th. Even if you have not gone through 9th and 10th NCRT, I guess in your higher secondary school, you must have gone through the elementary definitions of civics or elementary definition of social science. So in elementary definition of social science, one of the terms that our faculty used to say in our classes is India's constitution is a living document, isn't it? This is the term you must have gone through again and again. India's constitution is a living document. Now, what do we mean by living document? Living document means a document which is keep on evolving over a period of time. It is not a stagnated topic. It has been evolving. It is increasing its span or widening its strength over a period of time. So, Indian Constitution is a living document. But every living organism has its genesis, isn't it? Every living organism has its genesis. Every living organism has its root. So, Indian Constitution has its root in the historical underpinnings, which means how Indian Constitution has been evolved. So, if you really want to study how Indian Constitution has been evolved, you need to look into the details of teachings of Kautilya administrative state, how Mughal Empire created or paved the way for jurisprudence in our country. Jurisprudence का मतलब होता है कि हमारे यहाँ लॉ का बिहेवियर कैसा है, लॉ को कैसे एग्जीक्यूट किया जाता है, और स्टडिंग ऑफ द लॉ एज अ प्रिंसिपल इटसेल्फ. सो हाउ Kautilya administrative state or teachings of Kautilya impacted the creation of India's constitution. What was the role of Mughal administration in the creation of India's constitution? And last, not the least, in fact, most important one, what was the overall impact of imperial and colonial power to create the principles of India's constitution? So, right from Regulating Act to all the way to Government of India Act 1935 and subsequently to the creation of Constituent Assembly, India's constitution has been evolved over a period of at least 200-300 years. And if we go into the ancient and medieval times, certain teachings of India's constitution is also been derived from those events as well, or those era as well. तो जब हमको इस टॉपिक को पढ़ना होगा ना, तो इस टॉपिक को पढ़ने के लिए हमें बहुत सारे काउंसिल एक्ट, आई गेस वो पढ़ोगे आप इन हिस्ट्री ऑल्सो एंड इन माई टॉपिक ऑल्सो. वी हैव टू रीड लॉट ऑफ इंडियन काउंसिल एक्ट, different provisions related to Indian Council Act, Regulating Act, recommendations by the Cripps Mission, Simon Commission, and at the same time the Cabinet Plan, and then later on how the Constituent Assembly got its structure and what all the postulates, what all were the important inputs being shared in the Constituent Assembly. तो ऐसे बन के तैयार हुआ है हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, तो उसके बारे में पढ़ना है. That is historical underpinnings. Historical underpinnings should not be subjugated to either one or two page alone. You should be very precise because there were been so many laws that actually paved the way for the creation of India's ultimate constitution. As you all are aware, kabhi na kabhi to suna hi hoga ye. The Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935 plays a very important role in the creation of India's constitution. So we have to look into the historical underpinnings, how the constitution has been evolved in India, not overall in India, and what all are the salient features of India's constitution. तो इंडिया का जो constitution है उसके salient feature क्या क्या है, especially words like secularism, words like India being a welfare state, very important terminologies which are very much enshrined in our preamble and in our constitution values. So you need to read those things. You need to understand those things and you need to make a proper notes out of it. So this unit will definitely going to take a lot of time because it is going to be first being associated with the historical development, and later on it is going to get related to the political development, especially during the era of Second World War. So historical underpinning, evolution and salient features are very essential because they are going to act as the foundational pillar of your overall learning of India's constitution. And then you have to look into the amendment. Now they have used the word amendment. They've just used the word amendment. Now, as you all are aware, more than 106 constitutional amendment has already gone through of India's constitution. Our constitution is highly flexible. It is highly flexible, and some jurists also say India's constitution is highly transformative in nature. Transformative in nature means as time goes up, as time changes, as society changes, as will of the people changes, हमारा constitution भी mold कर लेता है उसके accordingly. So 106 amendment हो चुके हैं. अब 106 amendment हो चुके हैं. If we have gone through at least 106 amendments, it means it's a very Herculean task to actually pick 20-30 amendments which are very essential from the examination point of view. So therefore I am using the word misnomer. They are using the word amendments. Now they are not mentioning the word specifically which amendment. Is it 42nd amendment? It is 44th amendment? Is it 86th amendment? Is it 77th amendment? Is it 103rd amendment, which is related to the economically weaker section reservation? So they are not mentioning which type of amendment. They are not even mentioning which amendment. For example, it would have been better if they are going to at least write in the bracket that these are the 10 amendments, these are the 20 amendments that you need to put your primary focus. But instead of that, they have just written the word amendments. Now, amendments requires huge amount of dedication. Now, it should not be in this way कि आप पहले से लेकर 106 तक रट रहे हो. तो ओवरऑल लर्निंग करते चलेंगे, पूरा टॉपिक पहले पढ़ेंगे, and then we'll be going to get more comfortable which amendment are going to be very precise, very important, very peculiar for our overall preparation. Then later on, significant provisions. Now, again a very important term, significant provisions. Indian Constitution is a giant mammoth document. Indian Constitution is a giant mammoth document derived and inspired from various constitutions of the world, and of course been derived from various Government of India Act and Council Act as well. तो उसमें से कौन से प्रोविजन इंपॉर्टेंट है? सो वी हैव सो मेनी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविजन इन आवर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. विच ऑफ देम आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट? सो इन सिलेबस दे हैव जस्ट यूज्ड द वर्ड significant provision. Now, which significant provision? Is it related to Article 12 to 35? Is it related to the Union Executive provision? Is it related to the Judiciary provision? Is it related to the provision related to the Panchayati Raj? Is it related to the emergency? Is it related to the amendment? Is it related to the functioning of a state executive? So things are not very pretty clear. So they have used the word significant provision, but I cannot cherry pick that these are the significant provision. इनको कर लेते हैं, बाकी छोड़ देते हैं. तो जब आपको रीडिंग करनी है, when you have to do the reading as per this point, you have to prepare in totality. So I'm not incorrect, although I have used a very negative word misnomer, but I'm not incorrect over here, because misnomer means slightly misleading, because they have used the word significant provision, but significant provisions have not been well defined. So there are a lot of information, or there are a lot of inputs which are being implicit in this syllabus. So first of all, I'll be going to dedicate my time to understand the historical events which shape India's constitution, how constitution has been evolved and got its nomenclature, got its provision by having a discussion, a proper discussion in the Constituent Assembly, and in the past at least 80 years of the functioning of constitutional democracy in our country, how various amendments took place. And then we will be going to look into the process of Article 3, 6, 8, and of course some important amendments which actually shaped or reshaped India's polity. तो ये पढ़ेंगे इसको. तो ये जो लिख दिया है किसी ने significant provisions. अरे भाई कौन सा significant provision? Which significant provision that you are associating with India's constitution? This can only be identified once you are going to read the constitution in totality, once you are going to read the constitution from the initial stages to the advanced stages. And therefore, please do not dedicate your extraordinary time to the syllabus. Syllabus is a misnomer. You should have the idea what exactly these points are all about, but these ideas are going to make more sense once you are going to have a complete reading of Indian polity in completion. Now let's look into the last part, basic structure doctrine. One of the most landmark event in the constitutional history of the world is India's basic structure doctrine. We all know basic structure as the constitutional philosophy was not been originally mentioned in the Constituent Assembly or originally been mentioned in India's constitution. It was being interpreted in various subsequent cases of Supreme Court, especially in the Keshwanandan Bharti case. But basic structure doctrine requires huge understanding of the functioning of constitution. So you cannot read it in silos. कि बढ़िया ग्रोक में टाइप किया what exactly is basic structure and you'll be going to have 10 postulates, 10 points related to basic structure. That's not how you should read. So you should read complete events, how various amendments took place, what was the dispute during the Indira Gandhi regime which leads towards the creation of basic structure doctrine, and how basic structure doctrine has been shaped in the past at least 50 years after the judgment of Keshwanandan Bharti. Let me give you one very important content over here. Recently, a retired Supreme Court judge, Rohinton Nariman, he has written a very beautiful book related to basic structure. This is the book. I'm not suggesting it to you buy it right now. No need to buy it. It's not a part of your syllabus. But again, if you have interest, huge amount of interest, then you can go ahead with it. As of now, avoid it. So it's a very beautiful book written by a retired Supreme Court judge, Rohinton Nariman. The headline of this book is Basic Structure Doctrine. So you can easily understand, student, it's a 800 rupees book. And it's a book written by Rohinton Nariman. This book must be comprising at least 300-400 pages. तो जब बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर पर एक किताब लिख रहे हैं लोग, एक बुक लिख रहे हैं लोग, उस बुक के मीडियम के थ्रू दे आर ट्राइंग टू एक्सप्लेन द एवोल्यूशन एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर डॉक्ट्रिन. डोंट यू थिंक इन सिलेबस इट्स बीन easily written that you have to read basic structure, but basic structure should be read in various different aspects of the learning of India's constitution. Therefore, I'm giving you a very important point for your understanding. You should understand syllabus because after all, that's what today's session is all about. But understanding the syllabus is always the well beginning of our process. You should understand the syllabus, but syllabus need to be understand from truly different aspect as well. And that different aspect is कि यार ठीक है चलो ये लिख दिया, लेकिन इस तरीके से मैं नहीं पढ़ सकता कि सर आप एक काम करें, पहले आप ये पढ़ा दो, फिर ये पढ़ा दो, फिर ये पढ़ा दो, फिर ये. That's not anybody. I guess nobody is going to teach you in this manner, and you should not understand the level of Indian polity in this manner as well. So what is required over here? Required is we need to take a baby step initially from NCERTs, then understand the definition, then understand various provisions of India's constitution and how those provisions are interacting with each other and what all are the Supreme Court interpretation related to those provisions. So बड़ी आसानी से लिख दिया जाता है कि बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर पढ़ के आ जाना. तो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर आप पढ़ के तो आ जाओगे, लेकिन बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर के पहले क्या हुआ, उसके बाद क्या हुआ, उन इवेंट्स को पढ़ने में एफर्ट लगती है. So syllabus should be respected. But syllabus should be respected once you are comfortable with the foundation, once you are comfortable with the fundamental pillar of its understanding. So that's what the point number one is. Now, so your syllabus point number one is basically related to a brief introduction of India's constitution. That's what it is required. And some important amendments, some important provision, how constitution got its historical understandings, underpinning, and of course the basic structure doctrine. Now let us look into the second part. Second part is functions and responsibility of the union. Now they've mentioned the word union. Functions, responsibility of the union. Now once I'm using the word union, which means from all the way to Article 52 to all the way to the important article of Article 78, I have to be very comfortable with the important terminologies being used in the Bare Act. तो बड़ी आसानी से लिखा जरूर है. functions and responsibility of the union states, but functions of union and state, it requires huge understanding of the functioning of our administrative structure and of course the executive in our country. So in this particular topic, we will look into the technical details, we will look into the factual information from our Bare Act, and then from the Bare Act, we will look into various Supreme Court cases, how union and state been functioning, and what all are the basic principles of federalism. One of the most important area of UPSC is asking question related to federalism or functioning of federalism. Federalism considered to be the part of the basic structure of our constitution. So whenever there are certain dispute related to federalism, the Hindu and Indian Express are always going to carry certain articles related to it. So look at the depth of this unit, which says functions and responsibility of the union and the state, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. Now the word challenges has been used. Which means it is depicting that implementing the fundamental principle of federalism requires a lot of cooperation between center and state. And due to the political structure in our country, where central government is ruled by BJP, or if the state government is ruled by Congress, or vice versa, there is always going to be having some sort of dispute. So those disputes are known as challenges. Challenges leads towards new debates. New debates leads towards new understanding of India's polity and India's constitution. अरे भाई, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में क्या होता है? Challenge आते हैं. Whenever there is going to be challenge between the center and state, we have a constitutional provision of Article 131, which means if there is going to be a dispute between the center and state, then Supreme Court is considered to be the original jurisdiction power over there. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट फिर इंटरप्रेट करेगी, सुप्रीम कोर्ट उन चैलेंजेस को एड्रेस करेगी और वही चैलेंजेस आपको पढ़ने हैं. So whenever there is going to be challenge, and the kind of Indian politics we have in our country, not right now, but in fact for the past 70, 80 years, there have been hundreds and thousands of cases where federalism is under some serious attack or some serious debate. तो ये डिबेट 3-4 साल बनी रहती है, और जब ये डिबेट 3-4 साल बनी रहती है तो उसी में से क्वेश्चंस पूछ लिया जाता है. Please understand, once you are going to read the federalism, so federalism need to be understood from the theoretical point of view, from the factual point of view, from Indian polity, and then later on it should be studied from the dynamic point of view related to the latest current issues. So that's how we have to move ahead. This particular unit, challenges pertaining to the federal structure, devolution of power. Devolution का मतलब होता है distribution, devolution of power or separation of power, and finances up to local level, and challenges there within. Now they have used the word challenges. One more time, challenges. Now any smart student will realize the word challenges itself means current affairs, because if there are going to be, because you cannot define challenges. Challenges are going to be changing over a period of time. So challenges means whether it is the functioning of the Finance Commission, whether it is the functioning of GST Council. Every 15 day, every 1 month, every 2 months, you will be going to have certain type of dispute related to the functioning of various important constitutional bodies in our country. तो जब कभी भी dispute आएगा, those disputes are going to be get well encapsulated in your Hindu and Indian Express. And those challenges will create certain questions. I'm going to show you certain questions as well. You should go through the session. I'll be going to share some important questions related to this area as well. ये जो word है ना, challenges, it is actually depicting that concept of federalism should be learned by you, but challenges should be analyzed by you. I'll again repeat, concept should be learned by you. Concept should be mastered by you. Concept should be well understood by you. But when it comes to writing the answer, it need to have the approach of proper analysis. So those challenges which are being there in the news are definitely going to be a part of our overall mains exam. So first part is related to evolution of India's constitution. First part is related to the historical approach under which our constitution has been evolved or created, and it also includes certain important amendment, provision and basic structure theory, which itself requires a deep understanding of the topic. And the second part And the second part is related to federalism. And federalism requires good understanding, and that good understanding can only be possible when you are going to have a deep dive approach. You cannot have a superficial approach. For example, one of the most favorite books among all the aspirants is Indian Polity, M. Lakshmikant. Yes, I believe 80% of the question in your prelims are going to be easily cracked by you when you will be going to have the command onto this area. But I've already told you in my last session, competition is limited to 80,000 to 1 lakh people. Forget about the numbers. 80,000 to 1 lakh people are seriously preparing for this exam. If they are preparing seriously for this exam, and if they are mastering the concepts from Indian polity, which means of this book, which means almost everyone, if not everyone, at least 75% of them are going to easily crack 13, 14 question out of 18 question or 19 question which are going to be there in your prelims. Those 4 or 5 questions really matter a lot. For example, let me just go through some of the important chapter over here, which is related to federalism. So, let me share with you some important chapters which are related to federalism. So, if you are going to study federalism from Lakshmikant, so you should look into the provisions related to emergency provisions, precedent, and of course different inputs related to the state executive, governor, Council of Ministers. All these are important chapters which are related to federalism. Now, Lakshmikant is right now having how many chapters over here? They are having right now 80 different chapters. Now, these 80 different chapters, if you are going to have a superficial reading out of it, so the topic of federalism may be going to get comfortable to you. But the problem with this particular book is it is not addressing the recent changes, recent challenges which are being there in the news. It has very well depicted the functioning of Indian polity, and it has very well encapsulated all important institutions. But when it comes to the recent challenges, when it comes to the recent changes, things are entirely missing. For example, अभी कुछ ही दिनों पहले बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में भी था, certain type of policy provision in the GST Council. And GST Council, deliberation or decision making in the GST Council. Now, these are the debates. These debates need to be understood by you in a very appropriate manner. और unfortunately, जब हम केवल elementary पढ़ते हैं, तो हम ये appropriate manner नहीं पढ़ पाते हैं. तो वो appropriate manner क्या है? Please get comfortable with the important facts. Please get comfortable with the important information. Whether you are reading NCRTs or a coaching notes or a Lakshmikant, that will help you. But beyond that, you need to take certain important steps, and those certain important steps means you need to look into some recent debates as well. So, recent debate of the last one or two happenings, last of one or 2 years of happenings is definitely going to create a huge amount of alpha for your preparation. So, first topic is related to the historical input. Second topic is related to federalism, a very important one, and the word challenges is giving you the right direction that this topic is going to be very dynamic in our mains exam. There are going to be questions definitely, and questions are not going to be very straightforward. They are not going to ask about federalism. If you are going to ask about federalism in India's constitution, federalism is being divided into Article 246 to Article 293, and it is all about the administrative federalism, legislative federalism, and other important aspect of the federalism. तो केवल यही नहीं पढ़ना है, उसके बाद उसे कनेक्ट करना है recent challenges से, और जब हम ये करने लगेंगे तो हमारी एक अप्रोच सुधरने लगेगी. We are definitely going to be in a truly different footing altogether. The third part, separation of power. Again, it has been a part of federalism itself. Separation of power between the state government, central government, separation of power between the judiciary, legislature, executive, and of course between various organs. So various organ itself means you should read judiciary, legislature, and executive. And of course dispute redressal mechanism. So dispute redressal mechanism, which means how dispute between various institutions are going to get resolved. If there is going to be certain type of deadlock, or if there is going to be certain type of a stalemate in policy decision, how they are going to get resolved. तो ये जो एरिया है, क्योंकि जब हम जुडिशरी पढ़ते हैं तो जुडिशरी में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट आ जाता है सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर्स वगैरह. तो व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू रीड द इंपॉर्टेंट chapters from Article 124 to Article 147, which is all about Indian judiciary, you'll be going to understand more details related to the separation of power. Later on, comparative constitutionalism. This part, comparison of India's constitutional scheme with that of other country. It's a difficult part, indeed. Why exactly? Because we have books, we have Bare Act, we have some important basic books related to India's constitution, but comparative constitutionalism or comparative constitution is a theoretical subject and at the same time it requires advanced mastery. तो ये थोड़ा difficult topic होता है. Comparative, due to the limitation of space over here, I'm just writing comparative C, which means comparative constitutionalism. So India's constitutional scheme need to be compared with the other constitution of the world, like South Africa, like America, like Britain, like other constitutions of the world, like Germany, Japan, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. That's how you need to have the comparison. And this comparison part does play a very important role in your mains exam, not in prelims, but in mains exam. So, ये थोड़ा सा difficult area, but nevertheless, we will try our level best to make sure even this difficult part is going to be get studied in a manner which is quite clear to you. Next topic is Parliament and state legislature, structure, functioning, conduct of business, powers and privileges and issues arising out of these. Now look at this term. Anybody who is understanding the topics of India's constitution, the word issues and challenges itself means that these are the dynamic topic. Dynamic topic means the questions are not going to be very straightforward related to it. They are going to ask about events related to recent developments. For example, right now, the position of Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. So the position of Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha is entirely missing in the second functioning of Narendra Modi government. And right now, it's one of the most important topic which a lot of people have written about, the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha or Speaker of Lok Sabha or neutrality of the position of the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Now, Speaker of Lok Sabha is a constitutional post. This constitutional post is well defined in India's constitution. But when it comes to the decision taken by the Speaker, there are going to be a lot of anomalies related to the functioning of the position of Speaker. तो ऐसे में होता क्या है, उससे बहुत सारे इश्यूज जनरेट हो जाते हैं, स्पेशली व्हेन इट कम्स टू एंटी डिफेक्शन लॉ. कभी जब मेजॉरिटी की बात आ जाती है, माइनॉरिटी की बात आ जाती है, वोटिंग की बात आ जाती है, तो उसमें एंटी डिफेक्शन लॉ का एक बहुत बड़ा रोल हो जाता है. एंड एवरी ईयर, unfortunately, especially in our legislative assemblies in various states in our country, we will always going to have a very disputed post, and that is the Speaker of Legislative Assembly. So those Speaker of Legislative Assembly is turning out to be quite a notorious one, and they are always been there in the news. And therefore, UPSC has created one special point related to it, issues arising out of these. So issues arising out of these means functioning of a state executive means position of governor, position of council of minister, position of chief minister, and of course qualification and of course disqualification related to the cabinet ministries. तो ऐसे कई सारे टॉपिक हमेशा 15-20 दिन में आते रहते हैं. एंड लुक एट दिस इंपॉर्टेंट टर्म, कंडक्ट ऑफ बिजनेस, पावर एंड प्रिविलेजेस. नाउ conduct of business, power and privileges. So every parliamentarian in our country and of course the lawmakers in various states, they do have certain important powers. Those powers and at the same time those privileges are being well mentioned in our Bare Act. But when it comes to enjoying those power and enjoying those privileges, there is going to be some serious dispute or some serious issues related to it. तो वैसे issues ना generate होते हैं और उन्हीं issues को master करना है हमको. So one very important suggestion that here I want to share with you when it comes to the preparation of Indian polity. Read Indian polity for at least 3 months. Along with me, along with anyone on your own part, I will give you a lot of recommendations in today's session. Read Indian polity. But once you read Indian polity, once you create Indian polity notes primarily, then keep on updating it from the last 2-year event. A smart student is one which is reading the current event, which is reading the important current happenings, and it is very essential for him to get into the skin of the current happenings and then get it connected with the static understanding of Indian polity. क्योंकि इस स्टेटमेंट्स में लिखा हुआ है issues arising out of these challenges therein, which means the examiner or the authority UPSC itself want that they do not want only factual and information part of the Indian constitution. They also want the analytical part, the applied part, and the functioning part of India's constitution and certain disputes related to it. Even Supreme Court judges, whether it is a division bench or a constitutional bench, even Supreme Court judges has a huge amount of debate related to the interpretation of the constitution. We are the lesser people in terms of our understanding. तो जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजों के बीच में डिस्प्यूट होता है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की अंडरस्टैंडिंग को लेकर, तो हमें भी उन डिस्प्यूट्स को समझना चाहिए कि डिस्प्यूट क्यों है. वी शुड ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई the judge XYZ is saying this domain, or why this separate judge is saying this domain. So we need to have the proper understanding of the topic of India's constitution, and beyond that understanding, we look into some serious debates. So first of all, my suggestion is, once you read the India's constitution, it will give you a good amount of knowledge how India's constitution has been created, how various important provisions are there, and what all are certain exceptions related to those provisions. But beyond that, you need to put your entire focus onto the last 15-20 months functioning of those constitutional principles, क्योंकि वहां से डिबेट्स आएगी और डिबेट्स में आपके क्वेश्चंस छुपे रहते हैं. Let us look into last 4 part. Structure, organization, and functioning of the executive. Now again, they are using the term executive, and since they are using the word structure, organization, and functioning of the executive and judiciary, so they include all 3 important vital organs of the state: judiciary, executive, and of course union and state government as well. So legislature, structure, organization, functioning of the executive, judiciary, various ministries, departments of the government, various different pressure group, formal, informal association, and their roles in the Indian polity. Now again, this topic is not a very difficult one, but at the same time, this topic required very wide amount of understanding of various different organs of a government, and at the same time certain pressure groups. Pressure group means which are going to act as a vital role or a pivotal role in order to have a public policy creation in our country. और इन पर ना कुछ क्वेश्चंस बनते रहते हैं, चाहे वो नीति आयोग हो, चाहे वो कन्फेडरेशन ऑफ इंडियन इंडस्ट्री हो, जो कि सजेशन देते रहते हैं. सो नॉट अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टॉपिक, but at the same time, it does require a very wide understanding how public policies are being created in our country and what all are the dispute arising out of it. So you should read about the functioning of public policy, how public policy being created by various ministry, how it is being executed onto the ground level, and what all are various important law, act, and rules related to it. Next one, a very important one, salient feature of the Representation of People Act. Now student, Representation of People Act. It requires a separate bare act to understand the Representation of People Act. Now which provision of the Representation of People Act? So Representation of People Act are always going to be there in the news because हमारी country में हमेशा election होते ही रहते हैं. So electoral reforms. One of the most important topic right now in our country is electoral reform. As you are already aware, recently Supreme Court decided to do the systemic intensive revision in the electoral votes or in the electoral rules or electoral reform processes. So Election Commission of India has already gone through the process of SIR in Bihar. Now they want to get it promoted to 12 other states in our country. So every year you'll be going to have a very important issues, a very pertinent issue or a very persistent topic, electoral reforms. और जब कभी भी electoral reforms पढ़ोगे, it should be well connected with the Representation of People Act. The Representation of People Act is a very wide act. Let me show it to you. If you are going to type if you're going to type the Representation of People Act, so this is what the Representation of People Act. It's a 67-page act. How many provisions are there? Let me just read it. How many provisions are there? How many provisions are there? So it is having close to 170 provision. It is having close to 170 provision, which means there are total 171. In fact, 171 is repealed. It is having total close to 170 clauses. Am I supposed to master all the clauses related to Representation of People Act? Answer is strictly no. But I have to have a deep understanding, a well-connected understanding how various chapters of Representation of People Act are well connected with the fundamental principles of electoral reforms in our country. We all know the Election Commission of India, which is a constitutional body, a very important constitutional body, actually make sure that the fundamental principles of democracy is going to be firmly intact in our country. But in order to make sure elections are going to be conducted well on time, with certain rules, with certain processes, there is a one parliamentary law known as Representation of People Act. And Election Commission holds one of the most important power to make sure all the provisions which are there in the Representation of People's Act are going to get implemented on time. That's a different story that unfortunately it is not been executed by the Election Commission of India, the kind of power that they enjoy. Unfortunately, they are not using it. So therefore, this topic, Representation of People Act, it should not be understood or it should not be understood in a manner कि आप सारे क्लॉज पढ़ रहे हो, वो नहीं करना है हमको. हमें एक ओवरऑल अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेनी है और ओवरऑल अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेने के बाद हमें इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म से कनेक्ट करना है. फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट मी गिव यू वन एग्जांपल. देयर इज वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्लॉज ऑफ रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल एक्ट, सेक्शन 123(3). Section 123, subclause 3. What does section 123(3) says? Section 123(3) says, if any candidate who is right now fighting an election, if any candidate is going to ask for a vote in the name of caste, religion, sex, or individual caste identity, then the Election Commission of India or the local election officer can take an action against him, and action can be taken to the extent that his or her candidature is going to get suspended. But how many times we have heard about the implementation of section 123(3)? In reality, answer is next to nothing. Therefore, these type of topics keep on getting surfaced in our Hindu, in our Indian Express, and that's how UPSC are going to ask the question in our mains exam. So, बेहतर क्या होगा, एक अच्छे से एक पूरा इलेक्शन का चैप्टर पढ़ेंगे, उसमें इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म पढ़ेंगे, एंड देन वी विल बी गोइंग टू लुक इनटू द रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल एक्ट. वी कैन नॉट डू इन दिस मैनर दैट कि पढ़ लिया रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल एक्ट और इलेक्टोरल रिफॉर्म्स पूरा छोड़ दिया और आर्टिकल 324 से 329 छोड़ दिया. आर्टिकल 324 to 339 is actually having a very important chapter in India's constitution which actually describe the position of election commission of our country. Next topic, appointment to various constitutional posts. Now there are n number of constitutional posts, right from president to some constitutional posts which are been well defined in our country. There are so many important constitutional posts. Those constitutional post appointment and of course issues arising out of it need to be understood by you. And later on they have used the word functioning of various constitutional bodies. So there are n number of constitutional bodies. We need to have a pretty much clear idea about how these constitutional bodies actually work on ground. And last but not the least, some statutory, some regulatory, and some various quasi-judicial bodies. So, student, sharing these 9 points is very easy, but teaching these 9 points, making notes out of these 9 points requires a thorough preparation. So, what I've done in today's session, or what I'm going to do in the academic session of yours, I'll be going to divide all important 9 units which are being shared in our syllabus into various micro topics. The only way you can prepare for this competitive exam is, first of all, taking a deep dive into understanding the syllabus. A lot of people start their journey for UPSC preparation, but they have no idea how to go ahead with the syllabus, how much time they need to dedicate towards a particular topic, which topic need to be compromised, which topic need to be given a top-notch priority. And the problem is, student, if you look into the kind of questions that we are witnessing in UPSC exam, these questions are having a open framework. They are not in a closed bracket कि भाई हमने इतना बोल दिया इसी से आएगा. Unlike your school education exam, unlike your other competitive exam, there is a well-defined syllabus, and in the well-defined syllabus, most of the topic are explicit, and questions are going to be explicitly from those area. Whether easy, average, or difficult, that's a different story. But at least the syllabus is explicit, and the questions are going to be straightforward from it. But here in your UPSC, syllabus supposedly considered to be explicit, but topics are implicit, and therefore every topic of Indian polity, every topic of every section of a UPSC exam need to be further subdivided, subclassified into various micro topics as well. And today I will show you various micro topics, and we will have a thorough discussion related to micro topics. But before I proceed ahead, since this batch also includes almost 95% of the syllabus of UPSC and UPPSC are identical. So I'm not going to bring down my level. I'm going to have my level, which is considered to be the UPSC examination pattern level. And by doing this, or by doing so, you'll be definitely going to get comfortable with the state PCS as well. So in your UPPCS, look at these points. I need not to explain, almost identical to what you have gone through. India's constitution, historical underpinnings, challenges there within. अभी पढ़ा था ना, फाइनेंस कमीशन, which is the constitutional body in center and state financial relation, which means federalism, separation of power, I have already shared with you, comparison of India's constitutional scheme with that of other democratic country. UPPCS is perhaps one of the institution which is having almost identical syllabus to what UPSC is having it. Therefore, level is quite high in UPPCS, and at the same time, such a large state need to have certain standard, and that is standard that they have followed it very appropriately. तो लगभग सब कुछ सेम ही है यार, कोई अलग चीज नहीं है और कोई अलग ऐसा नहीं पढ़ना है, और ऐसा भी नहीं कि कोई यूपी के स्पेसिफिक लॉज पढ़ने होंगे. ऑलमोस्ट एवरीथिंग इज सेम. नाउ दिस टर्म public interest litigation, they have well mentioned it over here. Even if it has not been mentioned in our UPSC syllabus, this is something we have to go through it. So I firmly believe, I as an individual firmly believe, hardly any discrimination, hardly any differentiation between the UPSC syllabus and the UPPSC syllabus when it comes to Indian polity. Yes, the level of questions is having a stark relationship. The kind of question that you are witnessing in state PCS mains exam are slightly of a lesser degree compared to what you are witnessing in the UPSC exam. So there is a degree of difference of level of difficulty in the state PCS and in the UPSC, but somebody who have just started his preparation, he should have the open mind, he should prepare in the right direction, he should have a clear cut level, and then he or she proceed ahead with the state PCS. तो कुछ अलग नहीं करने का है, जो यहाँ पर कंटेंट होगा उस कंटेंट के अकॉर्डिंग आपका स्टेट PCS भी कवर होगा और UPSC भी कवर होगा. Now comes very important point. One of the most important point that I need to share with you, a basic thorn in the flesh of UPSC aspirant preparation is clearing prelims exam. I have seen so many brilliant students who are writing some exceptional answer. I use the word exceptional answer. They are writing some unbelievable answer. But unfortunately, they are missing the prelims exam by 1 mark, 2 mark, 3 marks. And I firmly believe if they are going to clear the prelims exam, they are definitely going to sail through the mains exams as well, looking into the kind of content that they have, looking into the kind of knowledge that they have. So let's look into this part. Is there any syllabus of prelims in Indian polity section? They've just mentioned it, Indian polity section in prelims. But if you look into the questions of at least last 10 to 12 years, I have created these 4 or 5 points, which are very essential for you. Prelims holds the key. If you are good enough to clear the prelims, or if you are turning out to be good enough to clear the prelims, the road is going to be slightly easier for you to travel. One of the basic hurdles, one of the most important hurdle that the students are going to come across is of course clearing the prelims. और prelims में कुछ चीजें समझ लेना बहुत जरूरी है. तो ये पॉलिटी के बारे में मैंने कुछ पॉइंट्स तैयार किए हुए. Look at these points over here. And I'm requesting each and every one of you, whosoever is doing this session with me, whether it is through YouTube Live or whether it is live in our mobile app, or those who are registered with us, Please follow these 4 points. I guess I have created 3 or 4 points. Look into the point number 1. In UPSC Prelims, Indian polity and constitution question ranges from all important learnings related to India's constitution like fundamental right, union executive, functioning of parliament, center-state relation, federalism, judiciary, state legislature, panchayati raj, important act and bill in news. But here comes the catch. There is no well-defined syllabus of Indian polity. Why you are using this term, no well-defined syllabus? Because they've just mentioned the term Indian polity and supposedly like functioning of parliament, state relation and all these things. But questions can be from very wide area, very wide aspect of the question. For example, they may be going to ask questions related to certain act. Now, for example, let's say they are going to ask you questions related to the FRA Act, FRA which means Forest Right Act. Or let's say they are going to ask you questions, let's say related to one important act, let's say Manrega Act, MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Now, Forest Right Act has not been explicitly mentioned in our main syllabus and definitely not in prelims as well. But if they are asking question in Forest Right Act, why they are asking question related to Forest Right Act? Because this is something related to the tribal community of our country, and tribal community need to be protected, need to be given a thorough protection as for the fundamental principles of Article 46. Article 46 is all about giving the authority for the state to make sure the cultural heritage of the scheduled tribe communities are going to get restored in our country. So under Article 46, the tribal communities or of course the scheduled tribe community need to be given a thorough protection, or their cultural heritage need to be protected. And considering this important provision, one of the most important aspect of India's public policy is having a Forest Right Act. And Forest Right Act is always in news because most of the time when it comes to the land acquisition, when it comes to the mining activity, forest के बारे में कुछ ना कुछ connection हो ही जाता है और tribals का displacement हो जाता है. So they are asking question on Forest Right Act. They are asking question on MG Narega. These type of acts are not being mentioned in our syllabus, but they are asking question related to it because in prelims exam there is no standard, there is no close bracket of asking question. It's an open umbrella, and therefore clearing the prelims exam is slightly difficult compared to the mains. Although the kind of question that we are witnessing in mains exam, it's truly required a huge amount of effort to attempt those questions. But having said that, the first hurdle is always going to be the prelims one. And please follow this particular point very sincerely. There is no well-defined syllabus of Indian polity and constitution UPSC prelims. An aspirant has to prepare thoroughly and holistically for Indian polity in an integrated manner. So once you prepare in an integrated manner, if a faculty is going to teach you 46, he will definitely going to come across provision of Forest Right Act. ये बहुत सारे important bills, important acts हिंदू में आते रहते हैं, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस में आते रहते हैं, उनका amalgamation करना बहुत जरूरी है. They mention Indian polity, they mention Indian constitution, but they have not mentioned certain important acts as well. Some important acts or maybe some important bills, some important rules, they are equally very important. So we have to put our primary focus in this particular point. So please understand, in prelims exam, you cannot have a cherry picking approach, you cannot have a pinpoint approach कि एक काम करते हैं, लक्ष्मीकांत के 80 चैप्टर्स हैं, उनमें से 30 पढ़ लेते हैं, इन्हीं 30 से 15 क्वेश्चन आ जाएंगे. पूरा पढ़ो, holistically पढ़ो, पहले पूरा holistically पढ़ो, revision cherry picking करके करो. And that's how you are going to understand the topic with a deep understanding of the current events. Look at the second point. I have created this second point. Every slide that you are watching it right now, every slide I have prepared it on my own along with my DTP team. I have prepared this presentation specifically for you by doing all type of introspection and by asking a lot of questions from the aspirant side itself. So that's how I have prepared these important points or these important terminologies that I'm using it right now. So keep it in your desktop, keep it in your mobile, or if possible, you can take a printout and you keep on looking into these things. क्योंकि स्टडी टेबल पे पढ़ना अलग है, एग्जीक्यूट करते वक्त कभी अगर प्रॉब्लम आ रही तो इन पॉइंट्स को जरूर देख लेना, उसके अकॉर्डिंग चलना जरूरी है. So look into the second point. A special focus is always required to prepare Indian polity and constitution, especially the contemporary issues from the editorials of Hindu and Indian Express. Indian Express and the Hindu carries the important key for your preparation, not for your selection first for your preparation, then subsequently for your selection. Because the kind of articles that you are going to read, it will help you to recall your understanding of the Indian polity. It will help you to revise the topics related to Indian polity. It will help you to jot down certain important points related to Indian polity. And your understanding of Bare Act will increase. So this is one of the most important topic that we have to look into. खूब सारे editorials लगातार पढ़ते रहेंगे, notes बनाते रहेंगे, points लिखते रहेंगे, ताकि हमारे Bare Act के जो provisions हैं वो हमें और clear होकर चले. So one very important essential aspect over here. Let me give you one brief idea. एक काम करता हूँ. Let me do one thing over here. Let me write one name of one author who's considered to be a very giant intellect when it comes to writing topic on India's constitution. Let me write name. He is a legal scholar, Upendra Bakshi sir. I'm sure if you have just started reading Indian Express, or if you've been reading Indian Express for a while, you must have come across some unbelievable article being written by Upendra Bakshi. Unbelievable. I'm using the word unbelievable. And I'm saying with full conviction, I've been reading him for a while now. It's been more than 4 or 5 years that I've been reading his articles regularly without ditching anyone. And I must tell you, his article is going to act as the real treasure. His article are going to act as the real treasure for your overall understanding of Indian polity. So let's look into his article. Now look into his article. Upendra Bakshi has written an article on what does justice mean in Justice Verma case. Justice Verma, the famous Justice Verma, where some cash been found in his home, allegedly. And he's written an article related to D.Y. Chandrachud. He's written an article related to, all these are the premium articles. So even if I'm going to click it over here, it is not going to get opened up because these are the premium article of Indian Express, which requires subscription. And look at this is his article. Now, please understand, I'm going to the theme of this article. Look at his article. Voter must know who funds political party. This is the right that Supreme Court has protected. So his article is, voter must know who has been giving the funds to the political party. This is our right to be availed to us. So this is the wisdom that he's been sharing it to us. Don't you think if I'm going to read these type of article, I'm going to be very comfortable with the Representation of People Act? I'm going to be very comfortable with the postulates of electoral reforms in our country. And in my yesterday's session, I have already told you that if you are reading the current issues, if you're reading the Indian Express, if you're reading the Hindu, you'll be going to have the huge amount of understanding of certain sentences, argument. अरे यार, जो अच्छे sentence और argument है articles के, उनको लिख लो, उनको याद कर लो, उन्हीं को लिखो. So please understand, one smart preparation that you can do, these are the legal doyens, these are the intellect people. They may be biased, that's a different story. Even I have my biasness, you have your own biasness. अरे but ठीक है यार, biasness बाद में आएगा, पहले कुछ knowledge तो मिलेगा. Or the moment we'll be going to have the knowledge or understanding by reading these type of articles, you'll be truly into a different trajectory altogether. Therefore, please follow this point very sincerely. Yes, you are reading Indian polity from Lakshmikant. It will help you solving 13-14 questions which are pretty straightforward. But even Lakshmikant can be mastered by a truly different approach if we are reading editorials on a regular basis. First of all, read the topics, complete the Indian polity in 3 months, 4 months as per your self-study, and of course, taking the help of the coaching faculty. But after that, reading some good books, which I'm going to show it to you later on, and of course, reading editorial, that holds the key for you. Therefore, I have written one very important point. A special focus is always required to prepare the polity from the Hindu and Indian Express, because those debates, those articles, those important arguments which are shared by those columnists are going to play a very vital role. One very important point over here. Solving last 20-year previous year's question. Now, this is something I forget to mention it to you in my last session. Which 20 years questions I should solve. My recommendation to each and every one of you, you should solve last 20 years question of 3 exams. Number 1, UPSC. Number 2, CAPF, Central Armed Police Forces exam, CAPF exam, and CDS. CDS is having 2 parts, CDS 1 and CDS 2, because CDS been conducted 2 times in a year. So UPSC exam last 20 years, CAPF exam, CDS exam, all these 3 exams are conducted by one body itself, UPSC. And if you are going to solve last 20 years paper of UPSC, CAPF and CDS, consistently mastering it, analyzing it, taking a huge amount of understanding related to the question that have been asked, things are going to be slightly easier for you. Slightly easier, even I would say much easier compared to your peers who are preparing for this exam. So in 3 exams के question solve करना है. And therefore I have written, solve last 20 years previous years question of UPSC prelims of Indian polity in both prelims and mains, which are framed in Indian polity, and it will channelize your preparation in the right direction. Last but not the least, very important one. Apart from preparing theoretical aspect of Indian polity, which everyone will do, I will do, you will do, books will help you out. Apart from preparing the theoretical aspect of Indian polity, a keen observation and knowledge is also required onto the functioning of criminal justice system. Why I am writing this thing? Because I am witnessing, I am observing nowadays a lot of questions related to the criminal jurisprudence are being asked in UPSC exam. They do ask a lot of questions related to the criminal jurisprudence. Criminal jurisprudence means how our criminal justice system is actually working. Recently, we have a complete overhauling, so-called overhauling of Indian Penal Code. Now we have the Bharatiya Nyaya Sahinta. So we have the BNS, BNSS, and of course Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam, which is the Evidence Act. तो वो पूरा चेंज किया है, और वो जो पूरा चेंज किया है तो उसमें कुछ ऐसे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स है, देयर आर सर्टेन इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स व्हिच आर गोइंग टू हैव एन इम्पैक्ट ऑन योर ओवरऑल प्रिपरेशन. व्हाई एग्जैक्टली? बिकॉज वी ऑल नो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज द फंडामेंटल लॉ ऑफ द कंट्री. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and all type of laws in our country are actually derive their legitimacy from the constitution itself. So criminal justice system or criminal jurisprudence or criminal law in our country are also been derived from the principles enshrined in our constitution. तो उन प्रिंसिपल्स के लेवल पर कभी ना कभी कोई डिबेट आती रहती है. लेट मी गिव यू वन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट डिबेट. फॉर एग्जांपल, let me write a very important point. I hope this is something you've been reading in your newspaper these days. You start reading newspaper, even if you are a 21-year-old boy or a girl who have just started his preparation or her preparation, you should start having a knack of reading editorials from here onwards. Whether you join me, you doesn't join me, you hate me, you love me, hardly matter. What really matter is start reading editorials, start reading newspaper from day 0 itself, that is today itself. तो अभी आप देखो एक डिबेट चल रही है राइट टू बेल, वेदर अक्यूज शुड गेट बेल और नॉट. एंड वी ऑल नो वन ऑफ द बेसिक टेनेट्स ऑफ लॉ इज दैट बेल इज द रूल, jail is the exception. But unfortunately, there are a lot of state government, including Congress one and BJP one, and of course the central government. It is turning out to be bail is the rule, and bail is the proper rule that they are finding it, and jail they are turning out to be having the exception as term. So what is happening right now? They are making sure that those accused people are going to be behind bars and incarcerated for a long period of time. These type of debates we are witnessing it. अभी है ना वो कुछ उमर खालिद का एक इशू चल रहा है, आपने सुना होगा उसके बारे में कि उसको बेल नहीं मिल रहा है 5 साल से. सो व्हाट वी नॉर्मली से, बेल इज द रूल एंड जेल इज द एक्सेप्शन. Unfortunately, due to some state government policies, due to some central government policies, we are having a complete different philosophical aspect over here, where jail is turning out to be the rule and bail is turning out to be the exception. So is government responsible for it? Is judiciary responsible for it? Or the accused are responsible for it? Nobody knows. But at the same time, you will come across a lot of different articles related to it. तो बहुत सारे articles आपको देखने मिलेंगे. It may be going to be written by Upendra Bakshi. It may be going to be written by Menka Guruswamy. Menka Guruswamy is again a very profound writer in Indian Express. तो जब वो ऐसे आर्टिकल लिखेंगे तो राइट टू बेल की बात करेंगे. अब राइट टू बेल की बात करेंगे तो उसको वो बेसिकली कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के जो प्रिंसिपल्स हैं उससे कनेक्ट कर देंगे. दे आर गोइंग टू गेट इट कनेक्टेड विद द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ आर्टिकल 19, प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ आर्टिकल 21, प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ आर्टिकल 22. Therefore, I am repeating, student, polity should not be read in an isolated manner. You should have a fair amount of understanding of the functioning of criminal justice system in our country as well. It doesn't mean that you have to pick Indian Penal Code and BNSS criminal CRPC in our country. You just need to have the basic understanding of the recent debates, and it will help you out in this particular point as you are finding it right now. Apart from preparing theoretical aspect of Indian polity, you need to have the understanding of the functioning of criminal justice system, penal code, various important laws in our country, as many questions have been asked on the practical aspects, which is the applied part. Practical aspect of the functioning of Indian constitution in both mains and prelims. I'll give you certain evidence related to it as well. Take my word, these 4 points are very essential. Point number 1, point number 2, point number 3, point number 4. Download this presentation as well after the class and keep these 4 points always in your mind when you are preparing for the Indian polity section. Because teaching Indian polity or understanding Indian polity is not a very difficult task. It is easily manageable. Yes, indeed, it is easily manageable. Initially, it seems like certain daunting terminologies. But I guess over a period of time, we will get into loop, including me and you. We both get into loop and we are going to get more than comfortable. But comfortable आप टॉपिक में हो गए हो, एग्जाम के अकॉर्डिंग भी तो कंफर्टेबल होना है. और एग्जाम के अकॉर्डिंग कंफर्टेबल होने में ये 4th पॉइंट बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करेगा. So how you are going to make your understanding of Indian polity with the criminal justice system? You should keep on asking question to yourself. You should keep on reading good editorials, good articles, and that's how you'll be going to have a proper amalgamation or alignment of your understanding. So these are the important points when it comes to the prelims exam. So in a nutshell, student, number 1, UPSC mains exam and prelims exam need to be prepared in an integrated manner. Number 1, it need to be prepared in an integrated manner. Number 1. Number 2, when you are going to prepare for your Indian polity, your primary focus should be on having the understanding of the Bare Act provisions, and you should never look at main syllabus initially. For a period of at least 2-3 months, never ever look at your syllabus part initially. Always have it in your desk. But you should not prepare in this manner that there are total 9 points of Indian polity in mains exam and I am going to have 9 chapters in this way. No, we will be going to look into various micro topics. Once those micro topics are being comfortable to you, then you can say with full authority कि अब मुझे syllabus आ गया समझ में, आ रही है बात समझ में, अब हम जाएंगे question solve करने के लिए. And as I have already shared with you, prelims and mains both should be read in an integrated manner. And once you start progressing, keep on attempting question, and once you attempt question, you will realize how good is your preparation. Moving ahead. Very important point. I've shared the syllabus with you. So in the past 1 hour and 15 minutes, it's already 7:15 now. And in the past 1 hour 15 minutes, I have shared with you syllabus part. Now comes the preparation part, and preparation part means books. So apart from coaching faculty, of course, I'm going to share inputs with you. And even if you are not going to join me, if you are going to do with someone else, apart from the faculty notes, these are the books or some related concept or some books that you can take in help of. So point number 1, apart from class faculty discussion and notes, following books and reading material can be fruitful for an aspirant. Number 1, Bare Act. Let me show it to you one by one. Always have Bare Act. That's the Universal Bare Act. It's the most recommendable Bare Act. Universal Bare Act and of course the recently amendment should be there in this Universal Constitution of India, Bare Act. The Constitution, commonly known as Bare Act, means which includes every single point related to the Constitution of India. And if there are certain amendment, it also gives the amendment part as well. So always have this Bare Act in front of your study table when you read the Indian polity. कुछ पढ़ा, आर्टिकल की लैंग्वेज समझने की कोशिश करी, उसको समझ में नहीं आया तो उसको इंटरप्रेट करने की कोशिश करी, taken the help of faculty, taken the help of ChatGPT and Grok, and without having the understanding of the Bare Act provision, it would be very difficult for you to sail through the exam. So first recommendation, have the Bare Act. And my recommendation is Universal one is the best one. So have the Bare Act. NCRT, Democratic Politics. Democratic Politics of class 9th, class 10th. Class 10th, थोड़ा ऐसी superficial पढ़ लेना. But one book that I would always recommend from NCRT is Indian Constitution at Work. It's a class 11th NCRT, Indian Constitution at Work. 5-6 chapters are there. And I guess within 10 to 15 days, you are definitely going to go through it. Look, I'm sharing each and everything with you, presuming that you are not going to join me. If you are going to join me, I'm going to do the homework with you. If you're not going to join me, you do the homework on your own. So, Indian Constitution at Work, which is a class 11th book on Indian Constitution, which is related to political science, you will come across this one. Of course, one of the most lovable book. If somebody is preparing for UPSC and not having M. Lakshmikant, it's not going to be considered to be a true preparation stuff. So, M. Lakshmikant, recent edition you can buy. मेरा तो काफी पुराना हो गया है. So you can read this book as well. Always have this for reference. The best part about this book is this book has make sure that the understanding of the Bare Act are going to be easily depicted with some easy language. So always recommended. But I'm again repeating you, this book is going to be read by everyone. This book is going to be prepared by everyone. By reading this particular book, you'll be going to have 10, 12, 13, 14 questions easily within your approach. But those 3 or 4 questions really matter a lot. And for those 3 or 4 questions, you need to do slightly more homework. It's very essential for your overall prelims perspective. But for the mains perspective, I have more recommendation for you. DD Basu. So I have DD Basu with me. DD Basu. DD Basu has its very important language. Slightly difficult but easily manageable. Slightly difficult but easily manageable. Why I'm using the word? Because initially when you are going to read this one, you're finding it difficult to grasp certain terminologies. But once you are comfortable with the terminologies, once you are comfortable with the definition, I don't think it's going to be very difficult task for you. Always recommended. Which chapters are going to be important? This is something I'm going to share with you as the class proceeds. But it's not like that you have to read it cover to cover. But certain chapters are very essential, very important, especially chapters related to the center-state relations and emergency provisions and fundamental rights, which has been well defined. What is the basic problem with this book? इस book में एक problem है, इस book ने case law ज़्यादा share नहीं किए हैं, जो कि सब लोग जानते हैं वो share किए हैं, क्योंकि बहुत सारे जो Supreme Court के case law हैं, those case laws which actually gives the real interpretation of the meaning of the terminologies that have been used in various provisions of the Constitution has been entirely missing in this book. Not exactly entirely missing, but substantially been missing in this book. But anybody who's taking the initial step of reading of the Indian Constitution, this is again one of the most important book. जब आज के 15 साल पहले जो एस्पिरेंट सेलेक्ट होते थे, वो तो केवल इन्हीं बुक को पढ़ के आगे बढ़े. So, and this again a very recommended part. Our Parliament, not required. These are the 2 books by Subhash Kashyap. These 2 are important books by Subhash Kashyap. One is of course Our Parliament, one is of course Constitution of India. But the moment you are going to read DD Basu, and if you are going to do the classes, DD Basu and Lakshmikant, you will hardly get any time to read these 2 books. So these, I'm mentioning it right now. Just because I'm mentioning it doesn't mean that you have to buy it. but I'm mentioning it right now. But these are those books which are really been enjoyed by various different generations of UPSC aspirant. I still remember I used to read Competition Success Review. I used to write essay writing in Competition Success Review way back in the year 2002 and 2003. It means 23-24 साल पहले. So in my first year of my engineering itself, I've developed the knack of reading Competition Success Review. I've gone to some stationery shop, come across the Competition Success Review, and then I've got generated the interest towards this UPSC exam and all these things. So one of the common thing I still remember in the year 2002 or 2003, there was one topper, I guess, been working in Chandigarh these days. Ankur Jain, I guess. He was from IIT Delhi, and he got All India rank #1. And I read his interview and truly inspired by reading his interview. And later on, हर month का जो interview आते थे toppers के in the Competition Success Review. One of the common thing is they've gone through DD Basu, they've gone through Our Parliament and Our Constitution by Subhash Kashyap. So I used to live in a tier 3 and tier 4 cities, so those books were not easily available. But I've realized that these are the very important book because every aspirant used to go through these books, and therefore I'm sharing with you. Whether you need to do it, I don't think you need to do it, because if you are going to read the DD Basu, if you are going to read the Lakshmikant DD Basu, I guess substantially you'll be going to have enough amount of knowledge. So ये मैं केवल recommend कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन recommendation का मतलब ये नहीं होती कि आपकी obligation हो गई है. Again, Subhash Kashyap, this one of the finest book I have ever read on Indian Constitution is Cornerstone of a Nation, written by Granville Austin. Granville Austin book, Cornerstone of a Nation. This book. Warning, you should not start your preparation by reading this book, because there are hundreds of books of Indian Constitution. There is one book written by Madhav Khosla. There is one book MP Jain. There is one book Jain Pandey. There are hundreds and hundreds of books related to the Indian Constitution, but somebody who is just 22-year-old, 23-year-old, 24-year-old starting his or her preparation, they should not have a library of books. They should have only 2 or 3 books. That's it. Even 2 books are more than enough. So जब एक लेवल बन जाए, मैच्योर होगे ना, 1 साल हो जाएगा, लेवल हो जाएगा, आंसर लिखने लगोगे, 50 आंसर लिख लोगे इंडियन पॉलिटी के, एंड सडनली यू रियलाइज आई नीड टू हैव मोर नॉलेज, आई नीड टू हैव मोर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, आई नीड टू हैव मोर वोकेबलरी, मोर कोर आर्ग्यूमेंट, देन दिस इज द बुक दैट विल रियली हेल्प यू अ लॉट. Unbelievable crafted, unbelievable created, Cornerstone of a Nation, written by the Granville Austin, legendary Granville Austin. You can read this one, but not right now, later on. And कुछ नहीं करना है. अगर लक्ष्मीकांत, डीडी बासु और ये जो आखिरी के 2 पॉइंट कर लिए, that shall be more than enough for you. And those last 2 points are regular updation and reading from the editorials and articles of the Hindu and Indian Express. Reports of Law Commission. Oh yes, reports of Law Commission. It doesn't mean you have to download the reports of Law Commission. Law Commission is a very important institution, and they do give a lot of recommendations related to the functioning of various important act, bills, provisions, constitution amendment, etc. और उसकी जो डिबेट्स होती है वो एक्सप्रेस और हिंदू में आती है, तो अलग से नहीं करना है, बट इसको ध्यान में रखना आप. Important committees, certain parliamentary committees, certain committees being created by the government itself, which actually going to help you or give you a fair amount of idea about the public policy in our country. So need to have a close eye onto it. And of course, various governance and administrative decision in news. For example, you need to have a summarized understanding of second ARC, Second Administrative Reforms Commission. Throughout the course of our discussion in the classes, we'll be going to look into the summary part as well. And some important website for reference. Reference does not mean that you should look it onto a regular basis, but every now and then you should have a close observation on prsindia.org. Let me open it right now. Let me open it. The best part about teaching these days, this smart board, electronic board, is the moment you want to show something to your student, everything has been instantly available. Teaching has been completely changed in the past at least 15 years. I used to teach with chalk and white chalks and green board. There is one school in Connaught Place near Gold Duck Khana, St. Columbus, a very famous school, St. Columbus, Shah Rukh Khan and Gautam Gambhir school. तो वहाँ पर IMS लर्निंग रिसोर्सेज की कैट की सैटरडे संडे की क्लासेस लगती थी. सो दे यूज टू हैव दोस चॉक्स एंड यू नो as we used to go through in school. Then later on marker and whiteboard, and now we have this screen. So it's a very beautiful site, prsindia.org, and you can refer to this prsindia.org. पढ़ना क्या है सर इसमें? क्या पढ़ना है इसमें? इसमें मंथली पॉलिसी रिव्यू आता है. So read this monthly policy review. And once you go through this website, certain policies, certain important discussion, annual policy reviews, I guess you'll be going to learn a lot. So, of course, websites में तो बहुत सारे information रहते हैं, but I guess monthly policy reviews or the annual policy review is going to be more than enough. And of course, we'll be going to do a lot of homework with you. I'll be going to make sure learnings from prsindia.org is going to be there in your notebook. So we'll be going to get taken care of it. मुझे जो सबसे अच्छा पार्ट लगता है ना इस prsindia.org का, उसमें ना बिल्स और एक्ट्स में जाओ आप, और इसमें ना जितने भी लेटेस्ट बिल हैं जो पास हो चुके हैं, एक्ट बन चुके हैं दोनों हाउसेस से, एंड सर्टेन डिबेटेबल और सर्टेन बिल और अमेंडमेंट बिल विच आर बीन हैंडेड ओवर टू द सर्टेन इंपॉर्टेंट कमिटीज, देयर आर गोइंग टू बी डिस्कशन रिलेटेड टू इट. फॉर एग्जांपल, राइट नाउ वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट amendment bill been there in the news is Constitution 130th Amendment Bill. So we are going to click it into the Constitution 130th Amendment Bill. It has been introduced on August 20, 2025, introduced. Now it has been forwarded to a joint parliamentary committee in August 2025, in the same day itself. And there is a huge amount of discussion related to it. तो ये अच्छा है website, you can use it. So that's how you will be going to understand all the important areas of your UPSC preparation. Number one, syllabus I have gone through, and I have also recommended you certain important books. So apart from the faculty notes, apart from my help, apart from my inputs, I am recommending you certain books as well, which may be going to act as a good friend of your overall preparation. Now let us look into previous year's questions. Let's look into certain previous year's question. No, I'm not going to give you the answer. No, I'm not supposed to give you the answer because we haven't started our preparation. This session is not at all about giving you the answer of this question. हम इसे पढ़ने के बाद क्लास में शेयर करेंगे. मैं केवल ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि क्वेश्चंस जो हैं वो सिलेबस से कैसे वेल कनेक्टेड और क्या ट्रेंड है. सो लुक एट दैट. अ क्वेश्चन रिलेटेड टू द फाइनेंस कमीशन. सो not recently, but last year itself, the government has decided to create the 16th Finance Commission. It was there in the current news. Arvind Panagaria been given the responsibility of handling the 16th Finance Commission, and therefore they've asked 4 postulates related to it. And gone were those days where you can easily work out from the option. But here they are asking substantial number over there. Now this is very specific. They are asking fact, and that too in fact they are asking a very precise number over here. It requires slightly deep understanding of the topic. So these are the numbers that you have to look into. So look, it's a question on constitutional body. तो आपके सिलेबस में मेंशन है ना कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज, तो उसका एक क्वेश्चन है फाइनेंस कमीशन. इट कैन बी फाइनेंस कमीशन, इट कैन बी जीएसटी काउंसिल, इट कैन बी एनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी दैट दे कैन आस्क. So this is the question that they have asked. So this year, if I'm not wrong, at least 17 to 18 questions related to Indian polity are there. And every year, let's say average is 15 questions. Of course, some years questions are going to be slightly more. Some years questions are going to be slightly less. But 10, 12, 15 questions are always going to be there in our prelims exam. So this was the question. Again, a question which is related to pardoning power of the president. A very important one. Look, one very important statement, perhaps the most important statement for today's session that I'm sharing with you. UPSC in its prelims exam ask questions of a static topic, ask question of general studies, but they ask question of general studies by taking the inspiration from the current events. They do ask question from the static part of the GS. They ask question from the static part of the GS, but the motivation to ask the static part of the GS is being basically derived from the current events. Therefore, Indian polity topic should always be aligned with the recent development in the Indian polity and constitutional functioning, which can be easily come across by reading the editorials of Indian Express and the Hindu. हिंदी में भी बोल देता हूँ, बिकॉज ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट है, मिस नहीं होना चाहिए. बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन जो प्रीलिम्स से पूछे जाते हैं, जो कि बेसिकली आपके बेयर एक्ट और आपके स्टैटिक पार्ट के क्वेश्चन होते हैं, उनको क्वेश्चन पूछने से पहले वो डिराइव किए जाते हैं करंट इवेंट्स को देखे हुए. ये pardoning power of the president. So once you are going to read the article 72, you'll be going to have the pardoning power of the president. You'll be going to study the pardoning power of the president. Now my question is, why this question has been asked in the year 2025? Because every year, it's not exactly every year, but for the past 2 years, one person been there in the news. Balwant Singh Rajona. One person is been there in the news, Balwant Singh Rajana. Who is Balwant Singh Rajana? Balwant Singh Rajana is one of the prime accused in the assassination of the former Chief Minister of Punjab, Behan Singh. And he has been given a capital punishment, but due to some psychological issues, due to some health issues, his capital punishment is been deferred. Now, Balwant Singh Rajana is asking for certain clemency under the Article 72, and it's been pending for a while. And there is a huge amount of constitutional debate कि अगर किसी को कैपिटल पनिशमेंट, फांसी की सजा दी जा रही है और उसने आर्टिकल 72 का यूज करते हुए प्रेसिडेंट के सामने एक रिक्वेस्ट करी है, सो वेदर इट शुड बी एड्रेस विद इन अ टाइम फ्रेम ऑफ 7 days, 31 days, 360 days, what should be the time frame? Whether there should be a time frame or not, whether there should be a time frame under Article 72 or not, it's been a debate that has been going on for a while, and therefore UPSC has asked a question related to it. Let me show you evidence related to it. Let me write Balwant Singh Rajana. Let me write the name of Balwant Singh Rajana. So if we are going to write the name of Balwant Singh Rajana, you will come across these type of articles. So look at that. Balwant Singh Rajana Council. He is Balwant Singh Rajana, and look at the headline. Look at the headline itself. Balwant Singh Rajana Council, which means a lawyer, worries about his sanity, which means mental status. Supreme Court asked who is to blame for delay in execution. तो उसका execution नहीं हो पा रहा है, उसकी mercy petition pending है, और इस पर एक हमेशा डिबेट आती रहती है. तो ये 1 महीने पुराना आर्टिकल है, September 24, 2025 in Hindu newspaper, and therefore they've asked a question related to it. So if one golden term that I want to use it to you, out of almost 100 questions in your prelims exam, at least 50 questions, which includes polity, economy, technology, environment, international relations, geographical places, mapping, wildlife, at least 50 questions in your prelims exam in UPSC especially, not a state PCS, in UPSC especially, are actually being derived from current events. That seems like a static portion, this seems like a traditional GS question, but it has been derived from the regular current events. Evidence is there in front of you. So Balwant Singh Rajana petition been there in the news. UPSC has asked a question related to the pardoning power of the president. They cannot ask Balwant Singh Rajana because that's the name is specific, but they can ask clemency power of the president, and they do in this year itself. Third question, on the dissolution of the House of the People, one controversial post, as I've been sharing with you, is speaker. So there are 3 statements being given over here. Position of a speaker. Once you are being comfortable with the exact understanding of the bare act, this question can be easily addressed for you. ये थोड़ा लिटरेचर पढ़ने में टाइम लगता है एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में, एंड देयर इज ऑलवेज गोइंग टू बी एम्बिग्यूटी. पॉलिटी क्वेश्चंस प्राइमा फेसाई सीम्स टू बी इजी, बट देयर इज ऑलवेज गोइंग टू बी एम्बिग्यूटी और कंफ्यूजन, विच वन इज मोर अप्रोप्रिएट, विच वन इज मोर क्लियर. सो the understanding by reading these type of question, or the trend which I am suggesting it to you right now, is you need to have a thorough understanding of the language of bare act. बेयर एक्ट में मतलब जो लॉ लिखा हुआ है, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ लिखा हुआ है, जो मेंशन किया गया आर्टिकल, वो पूरा क्लियर कट पता होना चाहिए. And once you are having a clear-cut idea about it, then you can address these type of question over here. As I'm again repeating it to you, I'm just showing you the glimpses of these question. I'm not getting into the details of the answer, because we are supposed to discuss these question in the classroom itself when we are going to solve the topic, and then we'll be going to discuss these questions. I have prepared last 15-year questions, and one by one will have a discussion onto it. Again, a question related to 10th schedule. Now 10th schedule always there in the news related to electoral reforms. It's a question on 10th schedule. Now 10th schedule, which means 52nd amendment of India's constitution in the year 1985. So Rajiv Gandhi gone through the amendment, introduced the 10th schedule of India's constitution, one of the most disputed topic in our country, always been there in the news. Somebody will say it's a polity question, even I will say it's a polity question, no doubt about it, but the motive to ask this question is based upon certain recent events. So whether in Maharashtra, whether in Karnataka, whether in Madhya Pradesh in the year 2019, 10th schedule हमेशा मैटर अराइज होता है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाता है, which is related to anti-defection law, and therefore always been there in the news, and they've been asking question related to it, both in prelims and mains. So what is the suggestion for you? The trend is Indian polity will have 15 to 20 question in prelims. Indian polity will have 15 to 20 question in prelims. Number one. Number two, most of these questions are going to be pretty straightforward, static GS. But the motivation to ask those questions are going to be derived from the current events. So, sir, should I only focus on current events? That would be harakiri. No. First of all, you need to look into the formal understanding of the topic. And once you are comfortable with the formal understanding of the topic, then you can read newspaper for a period of at least 15-18 months, having a clear-cut abreast of the knowledge about the recent development, and then you can easily handle it. So, again, a question related to 10th schedule, which has been outrightly been mentioned. In India, state government have no power for making rules for grant of concession in respect of extraction of mineral. What a brilliant question that they've asked. A brilliant question. Do you know why they have asked question related to this one? Because just before, I guess this exam was been conducted in the month of May 2025. If I'm not wrong, in the month of February 2025, Supreme Court has given a very unique judgment where mining rights for state government have been increased. Mining rights for state government have been increased in order to impose certain duties onto the mining products. तो वो 9 जजों का जजमेंट था, वो फरवरी में आया था शायद, मैं थोड़ा ईयर में मंथ में कंफ्यूज हूँ, अभी रिसेंट जजमेंट था, and they've asked a question related to it. Such a brilliant question. So who is preparing this question? ये क्वेश्चन लक्ष्मीकांत का तो नहीं है कि माइनर मिनरल्स और एक्सट्रैक्शन ये कहां से बना लिया इन्होंने क्वेश्चन, और ये क्वेश्चन आप सॉल्व भी नहीं कर सकते बाय जस्ट हैविंग द प्लेन वनीला एलिमेंट्री नॉलेज ऑफ लक्ष्मीकांत. यू नीड टू हैव अ थॉरो अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ व्हाट्स द रीसेंट डेवलपमेंट रिलेटेड टू द सेंटर एंड स्टेट डिस्प्यूट बिटवीन द माइनिंग इश्यूज, एंड इट वाज देयर इन द न्यूज. लेट मी जस्ट क्रॉस चेक इट. प्रोफेसर गूगल विल हेल्प अस आउट. Mining rights for state Supreme Court. No, I do not want to use the AI mode, not interested. Okay, fine. July 2024 judgment. Let me show you one link. So please read the headline. Please read the headline. The headline says, the Supreme Court verdict on state's power to tax mining activity. Supreme Court gave the judgment related to mining activity, taxing the mining activity, and of course the power for state government itself. Let me read the sub-headline. In an overwhelming majority of 8:1, as I've already told you, it was a 9-judge bench. The top court declared that the royalty charge on mining is not a tax and that states are competent to levy taxes on mineral rights. What issues were in consideration for this decade-old case? 10 साल पुराना केस था. What do the majority and dissenting opinion stipulate? It's a July 2024 judgment. So this was the judgment, and Supreme Court pronounced the judgment related to it. So just थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ो इसको. state government, mining rights, levy taxes, these type of important inputs were there in this judgment. And look at the question right now. In India, state government have no power for making rules for grant of concession in respect of extraction of minor minerals, even though such minerals are located in their territories. Statement are absolutely extreme one can easily handle it. But ये क्वेश्चन पूछा क्यों गया भाई मिनरल से रिलेटेड? क्योंकि ये जुलाई 2024 का सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट था. So as somebody who is preparing for the exam, I'll prepare federalism topic. I'll prepare article 246 to article 293 completely. And then later on, once I'm going to revise it, I will make sure I'll be going to read a lot of articles and editorials related to it so that these type of questions are going to be within my reach. So no surprising element over here. The questions are not at all surprising. Your preparation, if it is not been going to be up to the mark, then you will always be there in the loop of preparing for the UPSC exam for 3-4 years. So please have a clear-cut understanding. These are the kind of questions being derived from the recent events. Question related to ordinance, which is related to 123, related to the language of 123, can be easily handled. Question related to State Reorganization Act. It is related to State Reorganization Act. It's a very easy question, which is related to State Reorganization Act, Fazal Ali Commission, 1956. And then they have created certain points over here. Easily handle. Very easy. Which reference to the India consider the following question? How many of the above were established as per the provision of the Constitution? So they are straightforward asking you the Bare Act. Which of the following are directly mentioned in the provision of the Constitution? Interstate Council, Article 263, one can easily go through. Zonal Council, Security Council, question mark over here. तो ऐसे क्वेश्चन क्या है? ये आपके लिए easy questions हैं. They are just asking the provision of the Constitution, and they are not going to ask you Article 263 or Article 162 or Article 72. They'll be going to look into the details of those articles. Therefore, you need to have a knack of reading Bare Act, understanding Bare Act, and getting connected with the topic. The Constitution of India explicitly mentioned that in certain sphere, the governor of a state act in his or her own discretion. What a question this was. Governor is always a very disputable constitutional position in our country. And here we have, they are asking Bare Act language. तो मैंने आपको बोला ना कि कहाँ गया Bare Act? Where is the Bare Act over here? Let me just pick Article 163. Let me just pick Article 163 and let me read whether the word discretion been mentioned over here or not. It's been directly mentioned. So, Article 163 says, there shall be a council of ministers with the chief minister as the head to aid and advise governor in the exercise of his function. गवर्नर की मदद करने के लिए काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर होगा. आगे लिखा हुआ एक्सेप्ट इन सो फार, इट मींस सर्टेन केसेस आर गोइंग टू बी एक्सेप्शन इन विच ही इज, विच मींस अ गवर्नर, he is by or under this constitution required to exercise his function or any of them in his discretion, which means governor is having a discretionary power. And once you are going to read the topic of governor and president, you realize governor has more discretionary power in our country compared to the president. No, president is hardly having any discretion. Governor does have discretion. I'll repeat, president is hardly having any discretion. Governor does have discretion power, which are being well defined under Article 163. So what is this type of question? Are they asking question based upon some elementary articles? No, they are asking certain technical language related to the articles of India's constitution. Therefore, Bare Act को अच्छे से पढ़ना चाहिए. गवर्नर को केवल लक्ष्मीकांत से नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए, केवल डीडी बासु से नहीं. गवर्नर को पढ़ने जाओ तो Bare Act की लैंग्वेज पढ़ते चलो, रिफाइंड करते चलो. So that's how you'll be going to master this particular topic. Moving on. Certain match the columns. They are asking question. Separation of judiciary from the executive in the public affair of the services of the state. Article 50, valuing and preserving of the rich heritage of our composite culture, Article 51, prohibition of employment of children below the age of 14 years in factories. So it is article, understanding of the Article 23 and 24. So they are asking again the article. Are you following a pattern over here? The pattern is quite clear. They are picking bare act language and they are creating a statement. So if you are comfortable with the bare act language means provision of the constitution, then you can handle these questions. So again, a very easy question to handle. With reference to the constitution of area, if an area in a state is declared as scheduled area concept होता है. जब आप polity पढ़ोगे तो we'll be going to understand Article 244, and Article 244 is also known as mini constitution, or not mini constitution, वो तो 42nd amendment है. Article 244 is known as constitution within constitution, and once you are going to read Article 244, so we are going to read the 5th and 6th schedule. So those 5th and 6th schedule topics are been over here. Look, get into the skin of the topic, read the topic, read the bare act, look at the language, recall the article, you can handle it. तो बेयर एक्ट की लैंग्वेज पढ़ना है, बेयर एक्ट की लैंग्वेज को और एक्ट्स को पढ़ना है, आर्टिकल्स को पढ़ना है, देन वी कैन हैंडल इट. ये थोड़े से अजीबो गरीब क्वेश्चन है. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम इट इज फाइंडिंग इट, स्टूडेंट फाइंडिंग इट डिफिकल्ट टू attempt this question. They are asking about certain institution, whether it is a part of these ministries or not. Initially seems like an easy question, but not an easy question to attempt, because you never know whether Coir Board is under the Ministry of Heavy Industry or whether Coir Board is a part of some other institution. Slightly difficult to handle it. तो ऐसे भी क्वेश्चन आने ही आने, और हम प्रेडिक्शन नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन हमने जो पुराने क्वेश्चन देखे वो हम एड्रेस कर सकते हैं. Question related to the amendment. Now they are asking question related to amendment. Now they are asking question related to Article 368. When Article 368 has different provision of amendment. So when it comes to the amendment of 7th schedule, 7th schedule एक provision है जिसमें यूनियन की पावर है, स्टेट की पावर है और दोनों की कॉमन पावर है, विच इज कॉन्करेंट पावर. तो उसमें अमेंडमेंट होता है तो हमें कौन सी प्रोसेस फॉलो करनी पड़ती है, दैट्स द क्वेश्चन. Can be handled by you. Not an easy one, but can be handled by you. So language of the proper language of the bare act itself. Now, very important one. The governor of a state is not answerable to any court for the exercise and performance of the power and duties of his or her office. No criminal proceedings can be instituted or continued against the governor during his or her term of office. ये ना बेयर एक्ट में आर्टिकल 361 पढ़ लिया जाए तो हैंडल किया जा सकता है क्वेश्चन. आपको एक ही चीज समझ में आ रही होगी, दैट क्वेश्चन दीज डेज they are not asking direct articles, they are looking into the language of the bare act and they are framing sentences. Let me just go through the bare act language itself. I always keep bare act language in front of me, because once you will be going to have the bare act language, and I always going to make sure there are going to be certain dictation related to the bare act language as well. So bare act language, Article 361 says protection of president and governor and Raj Pramukh, which says the president or the governor shall not be answering to any court for the exercise and performance of the power and duty of his office or any act done or purporting to be done by him in the exercise and performance of this power and duty. तो डायरेक्टली लिखा तो हुआ है, तो डायरेक्टली लिखा हुआ तो स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट होगा ना. तो ऐसे क्वेश्चन आपके स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड बनाए जाते हैं. So this bare act, understanding of Indian polity with bare act, reading the language of the bare act, and then getting connected with various case laws and having the close understanding of various topics which are being well associated with each other in Indian polity is required, then these question will seems like a cakewalk. Ministry question related to again a number. To be eligible to be a member of panchayat in the intermediate level, a person should attain the age of 30 year. 21 साल का होता है, 30 year दे के रखा हुआ है, तो यहाँ पर एड्रेस कर सकते हो. Which of the following is not correct? We can answer it. इंदिरा गांधी पीस प्राइज देते हैं तो उसमें कौन नहीं होता? प्रेसिडेंट नहीं होता है, बाकी तो होते हैं. तो यू कैन एड्रेस दिस क्वेश्चन. अगेन अ फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चन. सो लुक एट दैट, 17 क्वेश्चन आउट ऑफ 100 in the year 2025, and most of the question are bare act based. So your first thing is read Indian polity for 3 months comprehensively. Once you are going to do the revision, look into the current issues. That's how you'll be going to make a combination and can attempt the exam. Now let's look into the mains question right now. Prelims, slightly easy to handle. Mains is where the real difference is going to get created. Very important statement. You need to have a close understanding of these topics and then we should proceed ahead. Discuss the corrupt practice for the purpose of Representation of People Act. Now, I've already told you, there were total 170 clause in the Representation of People Act. But once you are reading the Representation of People Act, you should define the first part. What do we mean by corrupt practices? So, I've already told you, one of the corrupt practices can be associated with section 123 and of course there are others as well. Then the question says, analyze whether the increase in the assets of the legislator. First of all, you need to understand the demand of the question. ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार Representation of People Act देखा and you keep on puking information related to Representation of People Act. You need to address the vital demand of the question itself. Because question is asking something else, you are writing something else, there is not going to be a coherence. Due to this non-competence of coherence, you will hardly get 2 marks, 3 marks, and therefore you will entirely miss the bus of being there in the interview room. So, discuss the correct practices and analyze whether the increase in the asset of legislature and their associate disproportionate to their known source of income what would constitute undue influence and consequently are corrupt practices. So, you need to take a vital stand over here that we are witnessing a situation where legislatures or the candidates who are appearing or who are contesting elections, their total assets has been increased disproportionately on year-to-year basis and of course from one election to the next election. What are the primary reasons behind it? There are going to be certain candidates who are industrialists in their private life, but in their public life, if their assets are being increasing disproportionately, then it's a very alarming sign. तो इस क्वेश्चन को एड्रेस करने के लिए एक रिपोर्ट को मेंशन करना जरूरी है. एसोसिएशन ऑफ डेमोक्रेटिक रिफॉर्म्स. You should address electoral reform. You should address Dinesh Goswami committee. And you should address certain important instructions given by Law Commission and of course certain steps taken by the election commissions as well. Now mentioning ADR, mentioning electoral reform, mentioning Dinesh Goswami cannot be possible by reading DD Basu, by reading Bear Act, by reading Lakshmikant. This is something can only be possible when you have prepared from A to Z holistically about the electoral reforms in our country. Therefore, student, whenever you read one topic, let's say you are reading Article 324 to Article 329, which is related to the Election Commission provision in our country, then you have to make sure that it is going to be substantiated by the recent debate related to the electoral reform. करते क्या हैं हम लोग पढ़ लेते हैं आर्टिकल और हमें लगता है हो गई पॉलिटी, उसके बाद रीसेंट डिबेट्स में नहीं जाते हैं और रीसेंट डिबेट्स मिस हो जाती है और जब वो मिस हो जाती है तो फिर क्वेश्चन यहाँ फंसता है जाके. So always make sure you're reading precedent, you've just finished the topic related to precedent, just go to Grok, go to ChatGPT, go to Google, ask your faculty to teach as well. That sir, you just covered the topic related to precedent. Is it not necessary for you to teach Article 143, recent debate related to Article 143? Is it not a duty of yours to make sure that the constitutional position of president need to be addressed with some recent important debates as well? That's how you'll be going to become a good candidate. तो होता क्या है ना, हम लोग पढ़ के निकल जाते हैं, बेयर एक्ट का लैंग्वेज लक्ष्मीकांत और थोड़ा डीडी बासु कर दिया, वो आपकी रीसेंट डिबेट्स को टच नहीं कर रहे हैं जो पिछले 5-6 साल में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के कॉरिडोर्स में चल रही हैं और वहीं से क्वेश्चन बन रहे हैं. And therefore, articles of Upendra Bakshi, articles of Menka Guruswamy, articles of Gautam Bhatia, articles up to certain extent, article of Pratap Bhanu Mehta, they do really matter a lot to us. So, these type of question, very difficult one, indeed very difficult one. What are you going to write over here? You are going to write about the provision related to corrupt practices in the Representation of People Act, but the next question is highly analytical in its approach. And for this, you need to be a good reader. Remember in my last class, what I've told you, know thyself. And know thyself means you need to have a good reading background. Good reading background nahi rahe to ab karo. Read articles, read inputs, and then connect the topic. Comment on the need of administrative tribunal as compared to the court system. So court system is being widely compared to the administrative tribunal. So you have the article 323. So they asking a question related to administrative tribunal. Now what's the problem over here? The problem over here in this type of topic is every book has given you orientation related to tribunal and the court system, but there is hardly any comparison. So comparison point need to be mentioned. How you are going to do the comparison point? When you are going to observe from the recent development. Look, no book is going to suffice without having approach of reading the recent development. और अब जब ये ट्रिब्यूनल्स की बात आएगी, कोर्ट सिस्टम की बात आएगी, ट्रिब्यूनल्स की बात आएगी और रिफॉर्म्स की बात आएगी, then you should mention the Roger Matthew case. If I'm not wrong, Roger Matthew case and the South Indian Bank case, it is all related to the functioning of tribunals in our country. And where you are going to read about the Roger Matthew case, of course, recent event, Hindu, Indian Express, last 2 year development, your current issues, and then connecting it with the Article 323 and of course the court system. So this is where we have to read the topic. So ये सब difficult, mains के answers लिखने में दिक्कत आएगी. Yes, पढ़ने में दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, लिखने में दिक्कत आएगी, शुरुआत से ही होमवर्क करना पड़ेगा. And what a difficult question this one. Compare and contrast the president power to pardon in India and in the USA. So comparative, whenever there is going to be question related to comparative constitutionalism, it will take some deep introspection and deep understanding of the topic. तो क्वेश्चन 2 लाइन का है, बट आपको प्रेसिडेंट की पार्डनिंग पावर और अमेरिका के प्रेसिडेंट की पार्डनिंग पावर का कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस करना है. तो कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस का प्रोसेस होता है, उसको कर लिया, दैट शैल बी मोर देन इनफ फॉर अस. एंड again they've asked a very important concept, what is preemptive pardon? So preemptive pardon concept need to be pretty clear to us. This is something you'll be going to read in the domain of Article 72 itself. On 5th of August 2019, we have taken a giant leap for more integration of Jammu and Kashmir in our country itself. Always been an integral part of India, but after 2019, with the steps taken by the current government, the integration has been more consolidated. So discuss the nature of Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly after the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act. So you have to share the nature of Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. Now please tell me one thing. Please tell me one thing. How you are going to address this question? You are going to address this question by going to read the Articles 370, which is considered to be a temporary provision of our constitution. And then once the faculty is going to teach you temporary provision, it is his or her duty to make sure that the Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act is also going to get addressed. So look at that. They are asking question related to those acts which have been passed 5 years ago. But every year in the month of August, आज 2 साल हो गया, 3 साल हो गया, 5 साल हो गए, जम्मू कश्मीर का एक स्टेटस चेंज हो चुका है. इस टाइप के आर्टिकल्स आते रहते हैं और वहां से हमारी प्रिपरेशन हो जाएगी. And then they ask, briefly describe the power and function of the assembly of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So what all exactly are the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir assembly power? They are significant power. It's a very specific question. Very surprising one, very specific question. It's not a part of your books. It's not a part of your coaching notes. It's a part of your overall deep understanding and overall interest of reading about the current issues. So read Indian polity and always get it coupled, always get it associated with the recent development. Therefore, I have decided in my session, I'm going to make sure that once we are going to discuss some serious topic, it should be coupled with last 2-3 year current issues, and always understand this particular part. Those students and those faculties are going to be at the top of their game when their bookish knowledge is great, but their current issues knowledge is outstanding. I'll repeat, their bookish knowledge is great, but their current issues knowledge is outstanding. And we need to make a combination of it. Since I've been teaching current issues for the past 15 years, I have realized most of the static portion or question that we actually encounter in our prelims, especially and in mains, are basically been derived from the current events itself. So Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act was not the exception itself. difficult one. I believe it's a difficult one because they are very specifically pinpointing, asking what all are the powers and function of the Assembly of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. तो अगर वो हमने एक्ट पढ़ा है तो हमें समझ में आएगा. Easy one. Attorney General of India. We always say Attorney General of India. We never say Attorney General of Government. Isn't it? Quite a surprising one, isn't it? We always say Attorney General of India. We never say Attorney General of the Government of India. So, Attorney General of India plays a very crucial role in guiding the legal framework of the Union government and ensuring sound governance. I guess this can be easily handled. It has always been asked earlier as well. This question been asked earlier as well. Can be handled. It was the mains question of this year. Constitutional morality is the fulcrum which act as an essential check upon the high functionary and citizens alike. मैं दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं, I am saying this with full constitution. They have carried out this statement from Puttaswamy judgment. They must have derived this statement from Puttaswamy judgment of 2017, which was related to right to privacy, and right to privacy has been now acknowledged as fundamental right. And in the year 2000, privacy एक fundamental right हो गया है ना, ये तो सुना ही होगा. 2017, that judgment was known as Puttaswamy judgment, and Justice Kaul was one such judge who had used the term constitutional morality for for right to privacy under Article 21 itself. So they have taken this statement from one of the Supreme Court judgment, and now they are creating the question. So you should read latest judgment, you should read constitution, and you should get it aligned with the recent judgment as well. Things are going to fall upon. बहुत सारी चीजें बिखरी बिखरी नजर आ रही होंगी अभी, वो सब एक जगह आ जाएंगी. करना तो चालू करो, और फिर आप जब पढ़ना चालू करोगे, इंटीग्रेट करना चालू करोगे, so you will start taking interest. And please understand this point, within 1 month, within 2 months, within 3 months, you will realize whether I have the sufficient interest to deal with the topic or not. So, in view of the above observation of the Supreme Court, explain the concept of constitutional morality. I guess anybody can explain the constitutional morality, provided he or she has gone through the understanding of the principles of constitution quite clearly, and its application to ensure between the judicial independence and judicial accountability. ये सब शब्द आते रहते हैं, डिस्कशन में हैंडल कर लोगे. अभी तो शेयर कर रहा था, India's constitution is a living document, and since it's a living document, as per the requirement of the collective conscience or will of the people, it is going to get amended. तो अमेंड होता रहेगा समय के साथ साथ, और जो अमेंड समय के साथ साथ अमेंड होता रहता है, वही हमारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी का प्रिंसिपल है. टू रिस्पेक्ट द विल ऑफ द पीपल, एंड विल ऑफ द पीपल इस इंफॉर्मेशन और इंस्टाग्राम के एज में प्राइवेसी का होना बहुत जरूरी है. और ऐसे क्वेश्चन आते हैं. Indian Constitution has conferred the amending power on the ordinary legislative institution with a few procedural hurdles. In view of this statement, examine the procedural and substantive limitation of the amending power of the Parliament to change the Constitution. What a question this one. Even legal fraternity people will find it, difficult to gulp down the water to read these type of statement. पहली बात तो ये कि पहले तो यही समझ में नहीं आएगा, ये procedural और substantive का मतलब क्या होता है. What do we mean by procedural and substantive limitation on the amending power of the Parliament to change the Constitution? So you take some time, read Article 368, read basic structure doctrine, then there are certain procedural and of course substantive limitation being well defined over there, then you can start answering those things. So these question, prima facie it's a difficult one, but once you are going to read the last few lines, amending power of the Parliament to change the Constitution, what are the limitations related to it, then you can get it aligned with the basic structure doctrine, and once you are going to get it aligned with the basic structure doctrine, those procedural and substantive limitations will be going to get addressed. और फिर basic structure पढ़ोगे तो ये दोनों term आपके specifically clear हो जाएंगे. And I guess 9 questions for there or 8. Oh, easy one. Discuss the evolution of collegium system. So evolution of collegium system, right from SP Gupta case to advocate on record case. and of course National Judicial Appointment Commission, which was being struck by the Supreme Court of India. Very easy question, वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन. एंड थोड़ा सा कंपैरेटिव पार्ट है, इंडिया और यूएसए के जज को कंपेयर करना है. वहां पर लाइफ टाइम के जज होते हैं अमेरिका में, हमारे यहाँ रिटायरमेंट होता है. एंड वी हैव अ वेरी नोटोरियस कॉलेजियम सिस्टम कंसिडर्ड टू बी ओपेक एंड हाईली इनट्रांसपेरेंट. And they've asked a question related to collegium system, and everyone is going to get comfortable in this question, because once you are going to read the article 124, once you are going to read the memorandum of procedure, once you are going to read the principle of collegium system, you can easily handle it. और सुनते रहते हो ये चीज को, थोड़ा टेक्निकल डिटेल से, बट ये हैंडल हो सकता है क्वेश्चन. इजी वन. Evolving pattern. Now comes the word evolving. Don't you think the word challenges, evolving are suggesting that these are very dynamic one? They are not a static topic, dynamic one. As time changes, as time progresses, so does the debate. So examine the evolving pattern of center-state financial relation. Center-state financial relation. Center-state financial relation means right from Article 268 to Article 293. तो बेयर एक्ट बिल्कुल क्लियर होना चाहिए, उसकी लैंग्वेज बिल्कुल क्लियर होना चाहिए, और हो जाएगी. पढ़ोगे, याद रखोगे, 2-4 आंसर लिखोगे, हो जाएगी. Center state financial relation in the context of planned development in India. How far have the recent reforms impacted the fiscal federalism? So recent development means you should write about GST council, you should write about GST compensation, you should write about Article 293(3). ये सब आता रहेगा, ये डिस्कशन में आ जाता है. Manageable. So are you observing a pattern over here? The pattern is they are not asking articles, they are not asking constitutional position, they are intermingling 2 or 3 topics comprehensively. क्वेश्चन के 3 पार्ट है, 4 पार्ट है, उनको कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली मिला रहे हैं, और कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली मिलाने के बाद questions are repetitive. Center state relation, federalism, precedent, comparative, all these things are being well aligned. So reading recent Supreme Court judgment, reading recent current issues, and creating questions out of those things are going to matter a lot. So how you have to proceed ahead: read the polity, read the articles, read the current issues, get it a combination, you'll be going to get comfortable. I'll try my level best to make sure things are going to move in this direction itself. Now let me move towards the second part of my presentation. I still have 20 minutes. I guess time is not the limit. अच्छा, एक क्वेश्चन और है. What are environmental pressure group? Discuss their role in raising awareness, influencing policy, and advocating for environmental protection in India. So environmental protection in India is by and large a substantive part under Article 21 itself. There have been n number of judgments related to environmental justice in our country, and there are certain environmental pressure groups in our country as well. For example, environmental pressure group which are going to help the government to take environmental policies. You have the Center for Science and Environment. You have other important institution which plays a very important role for making sure awareness related to environmental protection are going to get increase in our country. तो 2-3 institution का नाम और एक अच्छी language environmental protection के लिए is required over here. Manageable question. So I hope you are finding the pattern. So respecting these things, let me move towards the next question. National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Okay. There have been certain articles which are demanding that NCPCR should now become a constitutional body. They are recommending कि अब इसको constitutional body बनाया जाना चाहिए, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. We have so many children under the age group of 0 years to 18 years, and it should become a constitutional body under Article 15(3) itself. Government is already running a very important scheme, Integrated Child Protection Scheme 2009 itself. तो उस पर एक क्वेश्चन बनाया गया है और उस पर पूछा गया कि आज के डिजिटल एरा में चिल्ड्रंस बहुत वल्नरेबल हैं. एग्जामिन द एग्जिस्टिंग पॉलिसीज एंड सजेशन मेजरिंग द कमीशन इनिशिएट टू टैकल दीज टाइप ऑफ इश्यूज. मैनेजेबल because Article 23, Article 24, National Commission of Protection of Child Rights, Integrated Child Protection Scheme, and certain learnings related to the protection of children in our country, with some recent debates like children are more vulnerable to the problem of trafficking in our country, and India is considered to be one of the hub of modern day trafficking. ये आर्टिकल्स आते रहते हैं, उनको एक इसका अलाइंड कर आप लिख सकते हो. उस चीज़ को लिखने की जो कैपेसिटी है वो बहुत बाद में आएगी, पहले पढ़ने की कैपेसिटी बढ़ानी पड़ेगी. We have to increase the learning aspect, the width of our learning, then only we'll be going to move ahead with the writing capacities. So I hope now it's enough. So total 11 questions in UPSC mains exam, and I have already shared with you, mains exam questions are not very straightforward. Prelims are straightforward, but mains exam questions are not straightforward. They are not even asking language or related to Bare Act, but you should mention certain articles which are very essential in the constitutional provision in your answers, and your overall understanding of all important topics of Indian polity will get accumulated in your answers, provided you have read Indian polity significantly and of course comfortable with the recent events. मैंने ये बता दिया आपको type of question. I've already shared with you syllabus. Now, how am I going to teach you? Very important, na? How am I going to teach you? I have given you so many books. Am I going to teach you from books? Am I going to teach you from those 9 points of syllabus? Answer is no. I'm going to teach you in a truly different fashion altogether. A student, this session is going live. My team has already told me. They have already made it downloadable, this presentation. And there are 40 units I have prepared. I have covered all Indian polity syllabus into 40 different units and micro topics. So I'm going to take my session with elementary definition. I'm going to start my session with elementary definitions. For example, I'll be going to start with basic elementary definition to start with. और बिल्कुल NCERT यूज करेंगे, DD बासु यूज करेंगे, ग्रेनविल ऑस्टिन यूज करेंगे, सबका कॉम्बिनेशन बनाएंगे, रीसेंट इवेंट्स, रीसेंट डिबेट्स को भी शेयर करेंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, what do we mean by right? What do we mean by duty? What do we mean by political right? What do we mean by civil rights? All these definition. What's the problem with reading Indian polity? Most of the students start their preparation from Indian polity immediately by jumping down to the preamble. No. First of all, you should read various different socio-political philosophies, which actually plays a very important role in the creation of constitution. After all, constitution is basically a brainchild of Magna Carta. It's basically a brainchild of enlightenment. It's basically a brainchild of Renaissance movement in Europe. और उन सब से बन के निकला है. कई सारे रेवोल्यूशन होने के बाद, फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन, यूएस सिविल वॉर, फाइट फॉर राइट्स, उन सब से निकल के बन के तैयार हुआ है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. सो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज क्वाइट अ मॉडर्न टर्म. It's quite a modern term, and this modern term need to be understood from the perspective of various different elementary definition. So socio-political theories should be clear to you. What is socialism? What is liberalism? What is capitalism? Not in exact details, but at least superficial knowledge should be there, because after all, these terminologies plays a very handy role in our understanding of the constitution. So first and foremost, मेरी जो शुरुआती 5 यूनिट रहेंगी, उनमें मैं शुरुआती 2 यूनिट रहेंगे. In fact, to be very honest, we'll be going to look into the fundamentals. We'll be going to look into definition of liberty, equality, justice, sovereignty, suzerainty, state क्या होता है, democracy क्या होता है, freedom क्या होता है, what is government, what is executive, what is legislature. We know the definition of government. We know the definition of executive, but we should know it from the academic perspective. For a person, a layman who's just starting my journey, गवर्नमेंट क्या होता है, जुडिशरी क्या होता है, ये हमें पता है, लेकिन पता है वो कॉमन सेंस है, लेकिन पता होना चाहिए अकेडमिकली. तो पहले अकेडमिकली इन वर्ड्स को प्रिपेयर करेंगे. दैट शुड बी अवर फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी. आई हैव ऑलरेडी रिटन द टर्म सब्सटेंटिव एंड प्रोसीजरल लॉ. There are two substantive and procedural law, which are 2 branches of the law itself. Jurisprudence, types of law, types of jurisprudence. So we will put our focus onto the elementary definition, because I'm going to keep on repeating these type of terms. What do we mean by negative right, positive right? अब मैंने आपको क्लास में बोल दिया कि fundamental right by and large are the negative rights. अगर मैंने ऐसा कोई term बोल दिया that they are by and large are the negative rights, or they are by and large the positive right. So you should not get flabbergasted. You should think upon why faculty is using positive right and negative right over here. So we need to have the idea about types of rights. तो वो करेंगे हम यहाँ पर. Concept of ideology, as I've already told you, various different ISMs, socialism, Marxism, liberalism, welfareism, Gandhism, feminism, all these terminologies cumulatively plays a very important role in the creation of Indian constitution, and to be very honest, in the global constitution as well. There is hardly any in constitution, whether written or unwritten, which has not been inspired from these type of ideologies. So Indian constitution is having good amount of connectivity with the philosophy of socialism, welfareism, Gandhism, up to certain extent Marxism as well. और ये सारी जो philosophies हैं, इन सबका एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग लेकर आगे बढ़ेंगे तो उससे क्या होगा, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को पढ़ना आसान हो जाएगा. नॉर्मली पीपल डोंट डू दीज टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स, they actually jump towards the preamble itself. So my first recommendation is, first read the socio-political philosophies. Different socio-political philosophies need to be understood by us, then only we should move ahead. So that's my unit number 1. I'll be going to start my journey tomorrow from this unit itself. पहले हम यहाँ से पढ़ेंगे, फिर पहले यूनिट पढ़ेंगे. What do we mean by constitution? What do we mean by constitutionalism? What do we mean by rule of law? What do we mean by fundamental law? Because constitution is considered to be the supreme law of the land. और हमारा जो दुनिया के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बने कैसे हैं, मैग्ना कार्टा क्या था, हैमराबी कोड क्या था, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का रेलेवेंस है भी कि नहीं है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट तो जब चाहे तब अमेंड कर देती है. We are going to look into these type of debates. So concept of constitution. This unit will actually address your UPSC main syllabus. Point number 1. Making of Indian constitution. How Indian constitution has been derived or been adopted or been created. All this presentation is downloadable, and 116-page handout has also been provided it to you. I guess my team has given me the information that it has also been made available to be a downloadable one in the YouTube session itself. So those who are already registered with me, उनको तो दोपहर में मैंने PDF फाइल भिजवा दी थी. Those who have not been registered, even they can have a downloadable presentation of this one. So that's going to be our unit number 2, where I'll be going to have the discussion on Indian constitution making, constituent assembly debate. Very important topic. What exactly was the purpose of the forefathers and foremothers of our constitution? The constituent assembly debates. What was their ideological purpose to create the constitution? वो जो constituent assembly में members थे, वो क्या करना चाहते थे constitution के process के through? वो किस type का इंडिया को देखना चाहते थे? उन सब debates को देखेंगे, because they have been always been going to address in various Supreme Court cases as well. So various constituent assembly debates, Constituent Assembly creation, Cripps mission, cabinet delegation, Mountbatten plan, passing of constitution, कब चालू हुआ constitution, various committees, who were the members associated with those committee, all these things. And of course, some historical events which actually plays a very important role in the creation of Indian constitution, like Kautilya administrative state, Mughal administrative rule, etc. So all these things are going to be get well aligned. Okay, very directly been mentioned in your syllabus. I am going to cover it directly over here. Salient future of Indian Constitution. तो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के सेलियंट फ्यूचर क्या क्या है? डीडी बासु में डायरेक्ट दिया हुआ है, लक्ष्मीकांत में डायरेक्ट दिया हुआ है, थोड़ा बहुत मैं अपने तरीके से ऐड करूंगा और बहुत अच्छे से कॉम्बिनेशन बन जाएगा. What are the value premises and philosophy of constitution? How it has been derived, various amendment related to it, justiciable, non-justiciable rights, all different philosophy related to it, Government of India Act 1935, different provisions during the time of independence. So that's been going to address in the 4th unit. And topic are not going to be in this manner कि पहले first चलेगी, फिर second चलेगी, third. I'll be going to start with second, then first, then third, then fourth, and slowly and steadily we will going to create a good pyramid of understanding of the topic itself. These are all the important terminology related to the salient feature of Indian Constitution. Then comes the bare act language. Then comes the proper understanding of Indian Constitution. So before you dedicate yourself to understanding the bare act, starting from the preamble, we the people of India, you should look into the peripheral topic. Peripheral topic means क्या होता है constitution, बना कैसे constitution, बनाया किसने constitution, what all events plays a very important role, salient feature of Indian constitution. Then we get down into the details of bare act itself. So then comes preamble. So we will dedicate our time to one or two class to understand one class specifically what exactly is the preamble of Indian constitution. Interpretation, doctrine of parens patriae, keywords in preamble, social justice, secular state, a very debatable topic whether we should have the word secular in our constitution or not. amendability, whether it is amendable or not amendable, whether it is a part of constitution or not, all these debates we are going to share in our classroom. That's going to be unit number 5. Then comes citizenship. Recently been in debate because government has proposed to start the all India NRC. So types of citizenship क्या होती है, meaning of citizenship क्या होती है. In India we have 2 types of citizenship. It means citizenship can be availed by 2 types. Number 1, the constitutional provision, and of course one specific law being assigned to it. So we are going to have a dedication towards this part as well. Very important, very lovable part, fundamental rights. Fundamental rights we are not going to do it in one go. We are going to do in compartmentalization. First, right to equality, 14 to 18. Then we are going to dedicate our time to Article 19, then 20, then 21, 22, then 23, 24, then 25 to 30. That's how we'll be going to proceed ahead. So Unit 7 is concept of fundamental right, but I have further divided into various different unit as well. Very important content, what is doctrine of eclipse, severability, doctrine of waiver, ये सब important debates हैं, ये सब आता रहेगा. एक बड़ा controversial topic, natural justice और due process, ये एक ही होता है, अलग अलग होता है, इस टाइप की debate share करेंगे. As I've already told you, right to equality, and one of the hallmark of my session is going to be this part. Every class of mine, especially in debatable topics related to equality and reservation and all, I'll be going to look into various landmark judgment, reservation policy of executive, recent Supreme Court, High Court judgment, government policies, and recent controversies related to right to equality. This is something my duty, my onus, and I'll be going to fulfill it. Various landmark judgment, I'm always going to include it in my classroom with some recent debates related to Hindu and Indian Express. Right to freedom, one specific class for Article 19 itself, with various judgment, Menka Gandhi case especially. Protection in respect of conviction for offences, Article 20, very important one, especially this point, guarantee against double jeopardy and punishment, and protection against self incrimination. आते रहते debates इस पर topic आता रहता है, तो ये हम share करेंगे. The fundamental rights, we are going to get it divided into so many important specific part. Unit 11, protection of life and personal liberty, very essential, very important, right to life, and some important recent debates related to the protection of life and personal liberty itself, especially right from the Gopalan to the Menka Gandhi case, because constitutional morality, I will use the word morality which was been there in our UPSC mains topic as well. So constitutional morality and Article 21 is been going through fundamental changes right from Gopalan to Menka Gandhi and then post Menka Gandhi. तो इन सब में ये सारी डिबेट्स हैं, ये सब पढ़ेंगे, हम उसको देखने की कोशिश करेंगे और ऐसा नहीं करेंगे कि फर्स्ट दिस वन देन दिस वन देन दिस वन. विल बी गोइंग टू लुक इनटू द कंप्लीट पिक्चर एंड बाय द टाइम वी आर गोइंग टू फिनिश द टॉपिक एवरी सिंगल पॉइंट इज गोइंग टू गेट क्लियर टू यू and I will make sure that I'm going to give you regular questions to attempt and you are going to write the answers and show it to me. I'm going to give you my number from maybe tomorrow's session and then you can be going to give your answers. I'll be going to read your answers as well and I will going to have the critical comment on it. Arbitrary arrest and detention, which is Article 22. Right against exploitation, child rights issue, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. And look at the language. नीरजा चौधरी और बंधुआ मुक्ति मोर्चा केस के बाद किस तरीके से चाइल्ड लेबर को डिफाइन किया गया और उनके राइट्स को डिफाइन किया गया. These are the things that I'll be going to address in your classroom. Freedom of religion and conscience, a very important one because the whole Uniform Civil Code debate, personal law debate are being well connected to it. So we are going to address this part as well. Unit number 14. 15 is related to cultural and education right. The whole Waqf Act, which is being amended right now, it has a debate connected with the Article 24 to Article 30 itself. And one of the most important landmark case related to minority educational institution in our country, TMA Pai Foundation case. इसको पढ़ेंगे हम, इसको exactly देखने की कोशिश करेंगे. Then comes right to property, which is slightly a disputable topic. Most of the cases which are lying in our Supreme Court are related to the civil suits which are related to the property case itself. Supreme Court में, High Court में 50% से ज़्यादा केस तो property dispute ही है और वो जो property dispute के cases हैं उनको constitutionally address करने की कोशिश करेंगे. very important, most important chapter of Indian polity, which is right to constitutional remedies from Article 32 to 35, which involve 5 important constitutional remedies considered to be the hallmark or pillar of India's constitution: habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari and quo warranto. तो इस पर क्वेश्चंस खूब बनाए जाते हैं, इजी क्वेश्चन होते हैं, एड्रेस कर सकते हो, एक बार लैंग्वेज पढ़ने की जरूरत है. One more important point. Immediately after Article 35, we will not jump towards fundamental duties or we will not jump towards DPSP. We will look into, since we are reading Article 32, constitutional remedies, so we have to look into the basic structure doctrine. The second most important part of the preparation of Indian polity is this part: constitutional interpretation, which is Article 367. What do we mean by Article 367? It actually defines how constitution should be interpreted, how the language of constitution should be interpreted. And of course, one of the most important article, 368, doctrine of judicial review, which is considered to be a debate between the center and judiciary, especially center and judiciary. And we are going to look into all these areas. क्योंकि 32 को पढ़ेंगे तो तुरंत उसके बाद अमेंडमेंट की प्रोसेस को पढ़ेंगे. सो आई हैव रिटन अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, फॉर्मल मेथड लाइक इन यूएसए, कनाडा, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, and of course the debate related to basic structure. Some important cases. One of the most notorious or a black spot in India's Supreme Court is ADM Jabalpur case. ADM Jabalpur case, which clearly gives unbridled and uncontrolled power in the hand of administration. It is considered to be the black spot onto the legacy of India's Supreme Court, which they have rectified later on as well. But very important process related to basic structure. इस पर खूब टाइम डिबेट करेंगे और खूब डिबेट्स करेंगे इस पे. We are going to dedicate a huge amount of time onto this area, especially the debatable part related to the basic structure itself. Directive principle of state policy, superficially we will do this one because this is going to be understood more by you by reading the bare act itself, and of course the fundamental duty itself. Then comes the union and its territories. अब पीछे चलेंगे फिर यूनियन को पढ़ने से पहले आर्टिकल 1 और 4 पढ़ेंगे, which is all about India and its territory. And once we are comfortable with India and its territory, then we will look into union executive, which means the article 52 to 78 and of course ordinance power, article 123. President, article 72, comparative with power with reference to governor, functioning of Indian Parliament. Then comes unit number 22, which is going to be all about union legislature. So you have the union executive, then comes the union legislature. So union executive, which right from the president to the council of minister, we'll be going to look into the details, and then how the parliament actually functions. So we will going to look into the union legislature in the unit number 22, which after that CAG as well. All important provisions I have given it to you. So what I have done over here, I have actually decided that I'm going to teach, no doubt about that. You are going to learn, no doubt about that. But both you and me should have the clarity that these are the things that are going to be taught by me. These are the things that are going to be learned by you. So I've decided to do the micro analysis and micro division of various topics, and these micro division holds the important key for us. So I've decided to do the micro division. मैंने पूरे इंडियन पॉलिटी के पूरे टॉपिक्स को खूब सारे छोटे छोटे माइक्रो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड कर दिया है. Whether you join me, do not join me, whether you want to learn me, whether you do not want to learn me, hardly matter. But my recommendation is prepare in this manner, prepare in this particular methodology. It would really going to help you a lot. So union judiciary, then Chief Justice of India, dispute related to it, a state executive, that's going to be unit number 24. A state like union executive and union legislature, we'll be going to look into the state executive and a state legislature. Certain privileges पे क्वेश्चन बनते रहते हैं और डिस्प्यूट भी आते रहते हैं. Privileges of parliamentarians and state legislatures and state judiciary, essential one, which means cannot be compromised. And then comes certain union territories, tribal area, as I've been sharing with you. Article 244, which is related to tribal area administration, 5th schedule area and 6th schedule area, and a special provision with reference to the National Capital Territory of Delhi. अब यहां पर आएगा आपका फेडरलिज्म, एज आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, राइट फ्रॉम आर्टिकल 246 टू 293, टू बी वेरी प्रिसाइज फ्रॉम 245 to 293 we have a federalism. So most important topic is going to be federalism, which is going to be unit number 29, and there are going to be a lot of debates been associated with the unit 29 itself. So we are going to look into these type of debates as well, a very essential one, these type of debates as well. Legislative relation from 245 to 255, administrative relation from 256 to 265, and then comes the financial relation from 264 to 293, and exactly from 268 from 293, financial relation or financial federalism in our country, and a lot of institutions are going to be there in the news. और छोटे छोटे पार्ट में मैंने डिवाइड किया, वो जो जम्मू कश्मीर वाला जो इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है वो यहाँ पर आ जाएगा, इमरजेंसी प्रोविजन, नो, it's going to be after that. So here we'll be going to have the emergency provision, article 352, 356, 360, always considered to be very essential for prelims point of view, and of course from the mains area as well. So we'll be going to have a dedicated discussion on this area, and then realigned with the fundamental rights understanding as well. Panchayati Raj system, unit number 31, and continuation of it. अब ये थोड़ा कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर लेंगे, ये इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. दीज आर द थिंग्स वील बी गोइंग टू डू स्लाइट कॉम्प्रोमाइज. Things are being mentioned in our Bare Act, but there are going to be certain areas where we will going to do few compromises. Few compromises means some things which are going to do from the notes itself, something which you are going to do from the superficial reading itself. So I'm not going to dedicate too much time onto this area. Government services, all India services, we are going to dedicate our time. Roger Matthew case and tribunals understanding, article 323A, 323B. By reading the inputs related to these tribunals, we are going to address those type of questions which have been asked this year related to tribunals in our country. Very important, electoral reforms, elections and electoral reforms, very essential. तो यहाँ पर खूब सारा टाइम खर्च करेंगे, बिकॉज वी आर गोइंग टू रीड दी salient features of the Representation of Peoples Act, from where question have been asked multiple times in the past at least 13-14 years. Anti-defection law, which is of course the 10th schedule. A special provision related to certain classes like minorities, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, definition of ST under article 340, 342. This is something we'll be going to address over here. And some constitutional bodies like this one. NCSC, NCST, NCBC, these are the three important constitutional bodies, followed by National Commission for Minorities, Women's, and of course a special officer under the linguistic monitors. तो ये यहाँ पर cover होता रहेगा, ये topic मतलब essential है, but this is something you'll be going to easily understand because their functioning may be going to be there in our exam. So some postulates related to functioning I'm going to share with you. And towards the end, last few topics, this is where Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act provision we are going to share with you. I have already included in my micro topic analysis as well related to this one. Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act. Question has been asked this year, so I'll be going to be pretty sincere onto this topic as well. And then यहाँ तो केवल compromise करेंगे, यहाँ ज़्यादा time dedicate नहीं करेंगे. We are not going to dedicate too much time over here. Towards the end, I'm going to have the larger understanding of miscellaneous topic like Venkata Chelaya Commission, which has recommended a lot of important provisions related to the overview of the Constitution, of functioning of the Constitution. Moving towards the last few recommendation, which is other important statutory, regulatory and quasi-judicial bodies. One very important point. One very important slide. Please read the first 2 points very sincerely over here. Every class of Indian polity of mind and constitutional issues will be substantiated. This is the most important point. I'll be going to substantiate my class with various important case laws because most of the time case laws are missing. Case laws need not to be referred to you in every answer, but you should read the language related to the case laws. Shall be substantiated by various latest Supreme Court judgment, important constitutional debates. this is where my USP holds. I'm going to include not only the learning from the DD Basus or the Granville Austins of the world, I'm going to include the important constitutional debate as well. जितना मुझसे हो सकेगा उतना मैं include करूंगा इसको. And of course, this is something everybody has to do. I will also going to use it. ARC report, Law Commission report, Sarkariya Commission, Punchi Commission for understanding federalism more in a better way. Venkatachilaya Commission reports, parliamentary reports on police reforms, etc. और अगर टाइम ने अलाउ किया तो कोशिश करूंगा कि separately 6-8 months के, if time allows me, and if there is going to be not going to be have any limitation of the time, that I am going to do one thing. I'll be going to take at least separately 10-12 classes of last 1 to 1.5 year current events related to polity. So by the time you are going to finish my classes, you'll be going to have not only the fundamental principles of learning of Indian polity, but it's also going to be encapsulated and of course demarcated by the understandings of the recent events as well. तो यहाँ पर मैं करने की कोशिश करूँगा. I guess it's more than enough for this side. So that's it for my side in today's session. Tomorrow I'm going to start my academic session. Tomorrow I'll be going to have the academic part for you. My one suggestion to each and every one of you, in every class, those people who have already joined with me, in every class, always have these two documents in your study table once you are going to do the class with me, because this will make you sure that I'm going to proceed ahead unit wise. I'm finishing the syllabus from the unit wise manner. I have divided the whole syllabus into various micro topics. If you're comfortable with these micro topics, you'll be definitely going to become a top gun in this area of Indian polity. तो इसको हमेशा साथ में रखिएगा, इसके अकॉर्डिंग हम बढ़ेंगे, फिनिश करते चलेंगे. You'll be going to have the idea. And after almost 15 to 20 days, I will make sure last 15 to 20 years UPSC prelims and mains question compilation, I will also give it to you so that I can discuss those questions. You will have hard copy of those questions and I will discuss those questions live in the classroom session itself. So that's it from my side in today's session. In tomorrow's session, same time, 6 p.m, I'll be going to start my academic session, first class of the Indian polity and constitution. So I'll see you tomorrow.